Alright, alright, alright. Alright. Can you hear me? Hey, hi ladies. Alright, I'll stop that. And I'll say, what's up? Can you hear me? Is my sound working? Alright, let's put all this madness away. Can you ladies hear me? Okay. Now. Okay, cool. So, we are watching Lori Daybell. We're actually, I'm sorry, Shanda Vanderark. We're watching her testimony. We're going to be watching this lady's testimony. Okay? Can you hear it? What? Okay, this is not right. Hold on. Okay. We'll do this. Yep. Okay, here we go. You're gonna have a bad time. Okay, so we found the beginning, the middle, and end of her testimony. Here we go. Her attorney, listen, her attorney, I don't know, but it seems like he's sick of her shit. That's why he's like, testify, testify, because he wanted her to get raked over the coals. This is a bad idea. You guys, I'm so fucking sorry. I know what's going on. Okay. No, I know what's going on. Okay. Forgive me. No video playing. You sound great, though. Thank you. You guys are amazing.
All right, Mr. Johnson, you can call your first witness.
Your Honor, the defense calls Shanda Vanderark.
All right, Ms. Vanderark, if you can come around here, please.
Stand front of that chair. Raise your right hand, please.
Raise your right hand, please. In this matter now pending, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, yes,
You
sir.
can put your hand down, grab a seat. Please state your name for the record, spelling your first name and last name.
Shanda, S-H-A-N-D-A, Vanderark, V-A-N-D-E-R, space, capital A-R-K.
Thank you, Ms. Vanderark. You're being called to testify in your own cases. You understand that?
Yes.
And to do that, you have to make sure that everyone can understand you, correct?
Yes, sir.
With you, and knowing you as I do, I don't think volume's going to be a problem with you.
Probably not, sir.
Talking fast, maybe.
Yes, sir, it might.
Okay, so this is, are you nervous?
Yes, sir.
This is stressful?
Yes, sir.
So you're going to be, questions going to be thrown at you fast and furious. You've seen how trials work, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And under those circumstances, you may speed up again as I do.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You may be reminded from time to time to slow down just a little bit. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's make sure everyone understands you. You've been sitting through this trial since the beginning, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were arrested for these offenses alleged back when?
July 7th of 2022.
Okay. So you've been living with this thing for more than, what, 18 months?
17 months, yes, sir.
17 months. So you know what we're talking about, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you understand the allegations against you?
Yes, sir.
And that it also helps that you have a legal background, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The things they said about how well you did in school and all those things, were those all true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't want you sitting there and regaling this, but the things about cum laude and going to law school, all that stuff is true.
It was magna cum laude, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. Let's go back to the very beginning. Okay. When did Timothy come to your care?
May of 2021.
Prior to that, who had physical and legal custody of Timothy?
My ex-husband.
Okay. And when he sent, and how did it happen that you ended up with custody then?
My ex reached out to me, stating that Timothy he could no longer handle him, that he was pushing his buttons, and that he needed to send him to live with me.
Okay. And you agreed to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Had you ever lived with Timothy during his?
When he was younger, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So you agreed to accept him into your home?
Yes, sir.
And who was living in your home at the time?
Myself, my husband, Adam, Paul Ferguson, and then my little man, G.
G. Okay, that's what we call
Sorry.
G, correct?
It's really hard to do, yes, sir.
Okay, just do the best you can. Okay, so they're all living in your home, and then Timothy joins you, correct?
Yes, sir.
When Timothy's joining you, did your ex-husband ever make any effort to transfer legal custody to you?
We discussed it, but he never did actually sign anything, no, sir.
Okay. And without legal custody, how do you get Timothy into school?
You can't.
And without legal custody, how do you get medical treatment for Timothy?
You can't.
Did your husband at least send I assume he had medical insurance for Timothy. Did he send that?
He did not send me. I requested his medical card, his insurance card, and he never sent it to me.
Now, you heard the testimony that Timothy saw the doctor in 2019. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
That was a year before you received him?
2 years before I received him.
2 years before. So in the prior 2 years before you received him, as far as you know, based on what we're here, your ex-husband never took him to the doctor?
As far as I know, yes, sir.
How do you know if he had medical insurance for this young man?
He told me he did.
Okay. But he never sent it to you?
No, sir.
Okay. What was your financial situation once Timothy arrived and your husband had a stroke?
After the stroke, we
Yes.
lost my husband's income, and it was paycheck to pay, not even paycheck to paycheck. Almost everything was paid late. I was struggling. I asked Paul for help with groceries sometimes because we were struggling.
Okay. And Paul was working full-time?
He was working part-time.
He's working at Applebee's?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he's working part-time, and so were you receiving any child support?
No.
So the entire financial burden was on you.
Correct.
Could you have afforded daycare for any of your children?
Absolutely not, no.
And could you have, or for any extra expenses other than the ones that you were providing for?
No.
What type of expenses were you able to provide for this family?
Just basic living expenses.
Rent,
Yes, sir.
utilities,
Yes, sir.
food?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that leads to the next question I have for you. You had monitors and cameras in your home, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the impression from the testimony I heard is that it was for the sole purpose of ensuring that Timothy could not get the food. Is that accurate?
No.
Why did you have all those monitors and cameras in your home?
When Timothy came to live with us, his stepmother informed me that they had motion sensors. They weren't as tech savvy as I was. I worked in tech, before law school, I worked in tech support for several years. But they had motion sensors and she told me that she didn't sleep at night. She only slept when he was at school because he was into everything. And so, because my younger child, he used to, when he was about 2, he would take all his clothes off, so we started putting a camera in his room. And then once we moved to the Marshall Road location, it was bi-level. My husband was born with a disability. My husband was wheelchair bound. So we had an extra wheelchair that we kept on the upper level. That's where the master bedroom was. But that way, if little man, if G was down in his bedroom, my husband could talk to him through the camera and have him come up. It was much easier. My husband could crawl down the steps before the stroke, but we didn't want him to have to crawl up and down those steps.
Okay. And again, let's go back to the issue of food. Was food the only reason why you felt you had to monitor Timothy, or were there other issues?
There were plenty of issues, sir.
So, well, first of all, we've heard some testimony as to Timothy's special needs. What were his special needs?
He was on the autism spectrum, but he was completely verbal, and he was grade level in school. He was not behind in school at all. He was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. He was diagnosed as bipolar and sensory processing disorder. I heard Paul mention physical disability. He didn't have any. Now, Timothy, when he first got there, said he had a physical disability, and I asked his stepmom about it to make sure, and she said no, he was not coordinated at all. The first summer that he lived with us, my youngest was playing baseball, and Timothy actually mentioned, because we had planned to put him in public high school, I'm going to try out for the baseball team, and I didn't say anything to him, but I remember thinking, sorry, sweetie, there's no way, you don't have the coordination for that.
All right. And he liked to take, well, you tell me, did he like to take things apart?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Can you give some examples?
He took batteries apart, he took toys apart, my youngest son's toys. If he could get a hold of anything from Paul's room, he would take, like, mostly it was Legos. Paul still had Legos. He, at one point, messed with our water heater.
What do you mean?
He actually turned the gas off to the water heater. He knocked out the pilot light and then turned the gas off as well at different points.
Okay. Did you have any concerns as to whether or not his predilections, his desire to get into things, might be a safety hazard for either him or somebody else in the home?
I was extremely concerned about that, yes, sir.
So it was your desire to, was it just your desire to monitor Timothy, or did you also have a younger child in the home that you wanted to monitor?
We had both.
Okay. Was it, well, who did you want to monitor? One or the other, or both?
Both.
Okay. All right. So you set up these video and audio cameras, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And alarms on the doors?
Those didn't get installed until about 3 weeks before he passed away.
Okay. And motion sensors?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He got around the motion sensors multiple times.
Were you able to stay home and personally monitor your children?
No, I had to work full time.
Okay. How were you able to get, specifically, were you able to get Timothy into school?
No, we were not. We tried to enroll him in Mona Shores High School, and Mona Shores told me that my ex, I guess Timothy had damaged a Chromebook in Oklahoma, and because my ex owed money on that, they would not send his records up to us. So we were not able to enroll him. So I found online homeschool curriculum that I had to monitor, but I enrolled him in that.
Let me make sure I understand. Was it your original intention to put Timothy into public schools?
Yes, sir. We started the process. I filled out the paperwork. Because of my work schedule, I couldn't actually take the paperwork to Mona Shores. My husband did that, Adam did that. But yes, we did try to get him enrolled.
Okay, and the youngest child, G, was he in public schools?
No, he was homeschooled.
What about Paul? Do you know if he was homeschooled or if when he got to you, was he still in school?
No, he had graduated high school.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, you mentioned that you weren't able to stay at home and care for your children at home, in the home, as a stay-home parent. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what type of? I assume you're out working.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Explain to the jury the work that you did during the period of time that Timothy arrived in your home.
When he first arrived, I was still studying for the bar exam, so my husband was working full-time, and I was just doing, I trained dogs on the side, everything from basic obedience up through different types of service dogs for other people. And so I had a couple of dog training clients, but mostly I was studying for the bar exam. I also was an intern here in this courthouse at that
Pay a
time.
lot of money?
Oh, it was not paid at all, sir.
Okay.
But it was the week of the bar exam. My judge that I worked for here as a law clerk informed me of this position that was open in Nuevo County, and she knew that the judge referred me, and that's when I did the interview, and I started work, I think it was 2 days after I completed the bar exam.
Okay. Was that a paid position?
Yes, it was.
Was it lucrative enough where you didn't have to do any other work?
Well, with my husband's income, it was.
Okay. But your husband's income stopped when he got sick?
When he had the stroke, yes.
Okay. So at that point, was it enough income to provide for you and your family?
No.
Were you receiving any other outside incomes?
My older brother lives in the home that I still own in Oklahoma, and he paid rent to us.
Okay.
But it wasn't a lot. That went towards our house rent.
Child support?
No. My ex, one of the siblings was forgotten yesterday. There's 5 total. We talked about the 4 boys. I also have a daughter. She is now 19, but she stayed down with her dad.
Okay.
So we each had one, so there was no child support. And because of child support on the other 4 kids, I actually was still paying my ex child support. It was still being deducted from my check.
Okay. So you had that's another deduction from your income?
$1,000 a month, yes, sir.
Okay. So, were you also doing tutoring when you went to the judge who was paying you? Were you still tutoring or doing any other outside work?
Not at that. I was doing the dog training.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What time in the morning did you leave to go to work?
I usually left the house about 6:30,
And what time, on an average, were you getting home?
about 6 o'clock.
Okay. So we're talking about 12 hours away from the home.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those monitors, the video cameras in your home, you were able to view them while at work?
From my phone, occasionally, yes, sir.
Okay. But you were still working.
Yes, sir. I didn't view them at all until after the stroke.
I don't understand the point of these questions. Like with Paul, he finally got to it, but I don't understand with these questions. And also, if you're here, don't forget to chat in the chat, press like and subscribe. There are plenty of people in chat ready to give you some hugs and loves and welcome you to the family. And if you understand the point of these questions, let me know.
Because my husband was there, or we had arrangements where my husband was off certain days of the week. Paul was off one day, specifically one day a week, so he took care of Gabriel and Timothy. And then the other 2 days that I needed care for Gabriel when my husband was working, he actually went to my in-laws' house down in West Olive.
May I approach the witness for just a moment, John? You may.
Her dog might have stepped on the bee. And also, for the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, we might be able to find that on a news station. And we can watch the news stations.
Let's see. You have 3 children at home.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And my understanding is you faced other challenges personally in terms of your own personal health. Is that
Yes, sir, I
correct?
did.
Okay. For instance, let's run down the list. You have insomnia.
Severe insomnia caused by attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Okay. And for those folks who get a great night's sleep every night, don't understand what insomnia does to your ability to function, can you explain to them what impact chronic insomnia has on a person?
It limits your ability to think clearly. Your energy level is greatly reduced. Takes a lot longer to process things. You forget things easier. It was much harder to function with so little sleep.
Okay. And you talked about your other personal disorders. Were you seeking medications for those?
I was for, I have severe attention deficit hyperactivity disorder combined type. I also
Her lawyer is shit. Because if he doesn't ask her a question about it, the state cannot ask her a question about it. Her lawyer's setting her up to get fried. Because, my God, she's going to get fried by the prosecution. He should never have asked her these questions. I mean, am I right? Muddy, Feather, other people that are here, please chat in the chat. There's plenty of people looking to give you hugs and love and welcome you to the family. So come on in. And, wow, man, she's going to get filleted.
also have sensory processing disorder and OCD. And then after my husband's stroke, as a result of my husband's stroke, because I viewed him, I wasn't in the room when he had the stroke, but I was there right afterwards. And so I developed post-traumatic stress disorder with disassociation from that. The only medication that I was on was for the ADHD.
Okay. And you had the service dogs in your presence too?
I had one service dog for me, yes,
Okay.
sir.
What sorts of interventions were available for Timothy's disorders?
When he came to us, he was on medication. They gave us a whole large gallon-sized Ziploc bag of medications for him. I could not refill them because I could not get him to the doctor. We were going to try to adjust his medication because when he came to live with us, when he took his medicine, he was a zombie. It was just horrific. And when Paul came to live with us, because Paul had only been there a year when Timothy moved up, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was on the same big bag of medication, and there were serious concerns that they just, instead of handling, especially my ex, he wanted to medicate them, but I never got that option because I couldn't take him to the doctor.
Okay. All right. There's been some allegations, been some implications, put it that way, that you tried to keep people from seeing Timothy, that you tried to keep him away from public view, that he didn't go to school and he didn't go to the doctor, etc. That he went outside, he was in the backyard. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes, sir.
If someone's outside in your backyard, are there trees or fences or other obstacles to keep the neighbors from looking over there and seeing who's out in your yard?
No, there was a clearing before. There was woods at the back of the lot, but there was a clearing, and at least the neighbors on each side, there were pretty sizable windows on the back of their homes. Mm-hmm. They weren't in I think the next door was a 2-level, but the one on one side was just a single level. It may have had a basement, I don't know. But there was big windows, and they could see into our backyard easily.
Okay. Was it ever your intention to keep people from seeing Timothy?
No, my mother-in-law saw him. They do rental home inspections, I guess the city of Norton Shores. Mm-hmm. I don't remember if it was late April or early May of 2022, but it was in that neighborhood. And
She's
so
gonna
we
get
had the inspection that
fried.
day, and my mother-in-law happened to
She's gonna get fried. Oh my God.
stop by that day.
Why would he ask her these questions? Oh my God.
And I invited her in. We sat and talked, and Timothy wanted to come say hi, so he came up and said hi to her.
When was
Now,
that?
you're
Oh,
you're
shut
a
up.
Muskegon County transplant, correct? You're
Yes, I'm not from
Okay.
around here.
So, and I assuming that your direct biological family, there's not a lot of them in this county?
There's no, I don't have, other than my children, I don't have any biological family here.
Okay. How far away are they?
My older brother is in Oklahoma City, and then I have two sisters that I have not talked to in over 20 years, and they live in Alabama, where I'm from.
Okay. So how often do those folks, your bio family, stop by and to see how sister's doing?
The last time I saw my older brother was when we went down to North Carolina for my oldest son's wedding in October of 2021, and then my brother and sister-in-law drove over from Oklahoma for the wedding as well. We FaceTimed a lot. We watched football games on FaceTime, but I didn't get to see them after we moved up here.
Okay. Do you have a lot of friends in the area that will come by, will stop by on maybe on just happen to be in the area, that sort of thing? They'll come by and visit your home?
Most of my friends were from work, and they actually, because I worked in Newaygo County, they lived in Newaygo or Oceana County, or even further. I don't know, I'm not from here, I don't know what county is next to Newaygo East, but I know at least one person from work lived in, I think it's Big Rapids.
Yes.
So no, they didn't stop.
How long has she lived there? How long had she lived here? That she doesn't know her way around. Look, I need to shut up.
Because they were too far away.
Did you have a lot of time for social interactions at your home?
No, not at all.
And how about Paul? Did he have friends that he'd bring by, or
No, he talked about people at work, but he never asked to bring anybody over.
was he ever given any instructions? You can't have people in this house?
Absolutely not.
And what about the youngest child, G? Did he have any friends for sleepovers or anything like that?
We didn't have any friends over for, no. He played baseball. Because of me not being able to get out, he didn't get out a lot. I mean, I wish I could have gotten him out more. That's why we put him in baseball, so he could get around other kids more. I had been looking into homeschool co-ops, but with my schedule, I just couldn't do that.
Okay. What would you say was more impactful in terms of your, get Timothy out of the house? Was it your desire he not get out of the house, or your work requirements?
It was work requirements and his choice. There was, I want to say it was April, the weather was halfway decent. I guess people here were, there was kids down the street, there was teenagers playing basketball when I came home from the grocery store one weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped and rolled my window down and said, hey, I've got a 15-year-old at home. Can he come play with y'all? Even though I knew he wasn't coordinated, I thought he would enjoy it. And they said, yeah, sure, absolutely. And he did not want to go play.
Okay. Did he ever request to go play, and you denied him?
No, he never did. Actually, Paul, we had, mom and dad, my in-laws, got Timothy a bike for his 15th birthday. And Paul and we were on a cul-de-sac. And Paul had tried to teach him to ride the bike.
Okay.
I know they had a few sessions, I don't know how many.
Okay. So on those occasions, he'd be outside.
Oh yeah, he was out in
house.
in front of the house in the cul-de-sac.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's talk about some of the things that have come up in this case. There were leg irons discovered in your home. Were you aware of those?
I was aware that Paul had them. You actually could look on my Amazon. Paul had the option to do payment on the Amazon as well as mine.
Uh-huh.
And Paul had actually ordered those under his account.
Okay. You did not order the leg irons?
I did not, no.
Did you ever use them?
No, sir. No, I never instructed.
Let's be in specific. Did you ever use them with Timothy?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you ever notice any bruising on Timothy's wrists or legs that might be attributable to the use of leg irons?
No, sir. I never saw anything like that.
You heard Paul talk about plastic ties. What was that about?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know why we would order. I saw the ties. I don't remember ordering them. I don't know what happened there.
You're going to say I don't remember a lot, aren't you?
Unfortunately, yes, because of the dissociation.
Okay. Explain to the jury what that means.
Well, I guess there's different forms. Somebody told me this. I did not find out about the PTSD and the disassociation until about 7 months after my husband's stroke, even though it had been going on since the stroke.
I need to place an objection on the record, and I think we're going to have to excuse the jury.
Okay. Be great. We'll have to excuse you back to the jury room.
I think her attorney did that on purpose. I think her attorney did that on purpose. Because he doesn't know any other questions to fucking ask. Because who the fuck does this? You know, and that's what he said at his opening. He said, this shit is fucking weird, man.
All right, may be seated. Records reflect the jury is now in the jury room secure. Go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
Well, first and foremost, Your Honor, she's not qualified to testify about what disassociation means and what affects disassociation. Anything that she knows about that presumably would have been told to her by a doctor. We've already been down the road. Mr. Johnson's, to my knowledge, has provided multiple doctors that would be able to provide a diagnosis of Ms. Vanderark to indicate that she has, some type of disassociation or some type of mental disorder which would have contributed to this offense and has not done so.
Yeah.
It's an insanity defense. We covered that extensively, Mr. Johnson.
I am like, what the fuck also? Because, but I think her attorney is doing this on purpose because he doesn't like it. He can't be like, I don't like this shit. So I think he's just, he's throwing the knife in his own case.
Valiantly tried to
Sorry,
get
it's
that
a
and to provide any information to me from any medical doctor who's examined Ms. Vanderark that she suffers from any of these diagnoses. So I'm objecting to this entire line of questioning about disassociation, about why she can't remember certain things. If she wants to say she just can't remember, I guess she can just say she can't remember, but she doesn't get to use the excuse that this is disassociation. Furthermore, I have a doctor still on standby as a potential rebuttal witness who did examine Ms. Vanderark. It's the report from the Forensic Center, which Mr. Johnson has, which essentially debunks this entire disassociation myth that she doesn't remember things or chooses not to remember things because of some disassociation. So I'm objecting to this entire line of questioning. It's an inappropriate, essentially, defense that's being raised here. It sounds like it's almost like a diminished capacity type defense, which we all know is not a valid defense. And I'm not on notice of any insanity defense or any doctor who would provide a diagnosis meaningful for the jury so they understand what these things actually mean.
All right, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, sir. Initially, let me tell you what it's not. It's not an insanity defense. It is, and certainly my client can testify as to what she knows. Now, if the people are at liberty to examine her as to what she knows and how she might know that, and determine that her sources of information aren't adequate or that her understanding is inadequate. But certainly I can ask her what she knows and how what she knows corresponds to what's going on with her physically and mentally. Those do not rise to insanity defense, and certainly if she says, I don't remember, she can explain why. If she were a drunk and she said, I can't remember because I was drunk that night, we would allow that in. If she says, I can't remember because it's this disassociation thing, then that should be allowable. It doesn't rise to a legal defense. It doesn't arise to an argument of insanity.
This dissociation thing, he doesn't even believe it. He's like, if she wants to blame it on this dissociation thing, whatever, let her.
What it does is
She's gonna get filleted. Man, this prosecutor is gonna he's gonna ejaculate all over her face. Man, it's gonna be money shots all day.
it's an explanation simply of what she did next. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why don't you remember these things? That's what this explains. And quite frankly, that I think is relevant, and it's certainly, I think, permissible at this point. If the people have an expert that they can bring in and say, hey, look, that's not what's going on with this woman, that's their call. But to say she can't even talk about it because somebody else may disagree with her is not the standard. The standard here is the information relevant, and certainly, did she act upon it? Certainly. And she's acting upon this information, and does it explain an issue for which the jury has to determine? They have to determine intention, and quite frankly, if she doesn't even remember the conduct that she's involved with, certainly that goes to show that she didn't make well, I would argue that it shows that she didn't make an informed choice to do the things that happened in that household. Or certainly she gets a chance to explain why it is I don't remember, because that's going to be her answer. I don't remember. And so she gets a chance to explain that, and that's all we're asking here. We're not going to argue that this is a defense. It's just simply an explanation.
She's going to say, I don't remember.
Like, she can certainly
that's
answer.
the defense. I don't remember.
Absolutely, she can answer that. What she can't do is testify about a diagnosis that she says that she's been provided by somebody and an explanation for what that diagnosis means. She's not a doctor. Anything that she learned to talk about disassociation was provided to her by hearsay, and that those individuals, if that is going to be the testimony and disassociation is the defense, then I want the doctor here that examined her and diagnosed her with having disassociation, so she can conveniently forget the horrible thing.
Would your guys' doctor testify for you? Let me know, because I'm absolutely positive my neurologist would be the first witness. She would be like, yep, Nikki is number one. And my therapist, Bianca, the sexy black chick, and my little chunky psychologist, Emily, they would testify for me all day. They'd be like, everything in that book Nikki has, for sure. Yep, schizophrenia, she's got all that. Would your guys' doctors testify for you?
That happened in this case. It's all hearsay. It's not the same thing as intoxication.
So, Mr. Johnson, I think, you're going to ask her if she doesn't remember, assuming she's going to answer no. Well, why don't you not remember? She's going to say, well, because I have this dissociation disorder, right? I think you'd have to lay the foundation for that testimony. And the foundation for that testimony would be hearsay, would be from some other source. She's obviously not a doctor. She can't self-diagnose herself. She's not been admitted as an expert. She can, as a layperson, testify to what she feels and those things rationally based upon her feelings and what she.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Don't forget to press like and subscribe and come into the chat and say hello. There's people here waiting to bring you into the family, to make you a weird ass black sheep. So welcome and chat.
She doesn't understand, so I don't think it's an objection. Well, she can say, I don't remember. Why don't you remember? Well, because, I black out. Now, your example was drunk driving. Well, a layperson can say, hey, listen, in my experience, when I drink 8 beers, I, stumble, I can't really remember, those kind of things. And it's rationally based on her perception. And she can describe those things that are happening to her. I think that's fair. But in order to say, yes, that is exactly dissociation disorder or this, there's got to be a foundation laid for that.
Yes, sir.
And she cannot lay that foundation. And if she's going to, again, that would be hearsay. Again, if a doctor comes in and says, we told her this, that lays the foundation, okay, fine. But I think Mr. Roberts is correct when he says that foundation has not been laid, which would then implicate him bringing in a doctor to say that's not true. So based on that, I am going to sustain the objection. Again, you can still ask her about what she felt, what she heard, what she saw, the symptoms she experienced. I don't think you're objecting to that, Mr. Roberts. Is that correct?
Well, symptoms makes me a little bit nervous. I guess we can address it on a
Okay.
answer by answer basis.
But if she says, hey, look, I felt heart palpitations, or I felt my blood pressure going up, or I felt...
Oh, certainly
Okay.
talking about physical impacts on your own body. Sure, anybody
Okay.
can testify to those things.
Right.
But tying it to any specific diagnosis is it's just inappropriate because there's no foundation, as the court's indicated.
I agree. All
Thank
right,
you.
so objection is sustained.
Do you understand, we can't talk about disassociation? We can't use that term?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Second, and a few moments ago, I was given permission to approach my client. I whispered something in her ear. She was using Gabriel's name.
Yeah, Mr. John, I did hear. Mr. Roberts caught that too. Yeah, so, no, I didn't say anything then, and I understand.
Okay.
We've been, practice. I've seen you in practice. You haven't actually practiced in front of me yet, but I certainly have seen you in action. So I think I trust that you're not doing anything nefarious. So
Thank you, Your Honor.
yeah. All right. Anything else, Mr. Roberts?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's bring him back out. Please rise.
That detective is pretty. He is pretty. And his nose is a good size. Like it's not too big and not too small. He's a pretty man.
All right, you may be seated. All right, you may continue, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Ms. Vanderark, you've told the jury about how busy you are, and you told the jury that you have some physical things going on with you, correct?
Yes, sir.
How did those things impact you in terms of your ability to think clearly, organize, and follow through on information?
Starting right after my husband's stroke, I started experiencing episodes where if you've ever passed out, like the world closes, you get tunnel vision and the world closes in on you until you completely black out. It felt like I was blacking out, but I didn't actually pass out. And the events that happened after that, I have no idea of what happened. I don't remember it. I don't know.
Okay.
And this happened anytime I got even a little stressed. This would happen.
So you're understanding, you're under oath right now, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're asked to tell the truth right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're asking you that you not guess at anything?
Correct.
Okay, do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So it is, if you don't understand, we need you to say, you don't remember, we need you to say those things?
Correct.
Okay. And you did testify that these symptoms and this pressure impacted your recollections, is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And then there's the final pressure. You're raising children and teenage children, some of them in your home at the same
Yes.
time. So all these things are going on at once, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
While you're at work monitoring, and you've got the ability to monitor the home, would your job permit you, did you have the ability to sit in front of a monitor and watch the home all the time? Or were there times that you could not do that?
Most of the time I couldn't do it
And why is that?
because I had work to. We were part of
If you take medicine, take your medicine right now. If you take medicine, it's time to take medicine.
the time I was in court with my judge, and then most of the time I was doing research or doing other tasks that my judge or one of the other judges in the county assigned. So I didn't have time to do that.
When you're watching the videos on the phone, you said you watched them with your telephone screen, correct?
Correct.
And it is a standard screen, nothing special about
It was an iPhone, I think it was a 12.
Okay. I've seen those video cameras systems where you have 4 different cameras going all at one time, all the same screen. Was that your situation, or did you move from camera to camera and only have that camera visible?
No, the cameras were different brands and different cameras, so you could only do one at a time.
Okay, all right. So, and were you wearing an iWatch as well?
An Apple Watch, yes.
Apple Watch, thank you. Were you able to monitor your children from the Apple Watch?
No.
Okay. So if you were, say, in a courtroom like this and you're doing your job, you got a message on your Apple Watch, what would you get?
You could get messages and pictures. You couldn't see it. I mean, the screen was tiny. But you could get messages, and then there's certain like pat responses, like pre-programmed responses, or you can type with your finger.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you about a specific email or text that you received that accompanied a picture. It's the one that the prosecutor's given to the jury that shows Timothy from the chest up and then his legs. You know what I'm talking about?
I have heard about it. I have not actually seen these pictures.
What you respond to it? How can that be?
I typed on we were in court that day. I actually think I responded. I'm in court. I scribbled out a message real quick back to Paul.
Okay. So did you see the photograph afterwards?
No, I had too many messages on my phone. I don't usually scroll back.
Okay. So how did you know to respond to Paul to say, give him some food?
Because of what he said. He had sent a message saying something.
Okay. So you were able to see the message?
Yes, I saw the, and the picture, I mean, it's this big, but there was pictures, I just couldn't see what it was of.
Okay. I deviated again. I tend to do that. Sorry about that. I need to be more organized. We'll get there. We talked about the leg irons. We talked about the plastic ties. And did you purchase those plastic ties?
I don't remember, honestly.
Okay. What about the hot sauce? Tell this jury about hot sauce and your son Timothy. Well, I'm not going to tell you my understanding because you don't need to know that. The question is, whose idea was it to get hot sauce and to administer it to your son?
The idea was originally Paul's.
Okay. And what was the point of the hot sauce?
Because we had tried multiple other discipline methods, and he thought maybe that would get him to stop misbehaving.
Okay.
He suggested it to me, and I was so wrung out, I was willing to try just about anything.
All right. Were you aware of were you aware that this hot sauce was purchased online?
Yes.
Do you know why it was purchased online instead of going to Meijer and picking up a bottle of hot sauce?
Well, I didn't have time to go to the store. I mean, our groceries I did the grocery delivery through the Walmart app or through the Meijer app. And I didn't see anything. They just had basic stuff, and from our discussion, we had talked about something. And Timothy could handle this child. When I got pregnant.
I know you're going,
You're gonna,
but hold on a second.
Okay,
I
sorry.
want to make sure we understand this. This hot sauce has a particular label. I've never seen it at Meijer. Did you see the label? Did you see the hot sauce itself? Did you order it?
I believe I ordered at least one of the bottles, yes.
Okay. Why did you order this particular hot sauce or these particular hot sauces? What do they have in common?
Because I think it was the same brand, the same one. Because it was hotter than what you could usually get, and because Timothy he liked spicy food.
Okay.
He loved.
All right. I hate this. I hate this lady. And I hate your stupid hair.
Spicy food.
All right. How do you know you like spicy food?
That actually started before he was ever born. Before I got pregnant with Timothy, I didn't like spicy at all. I mean, nothing. No heat, nothing. And when I got pregnant with him, I started craving, my ex liked spicy foods, but I didn't. And I started craving, like I would outspice my ex. It was amazing. I still like, not to the extent when I was pregnant, but some of that remained. But Timothy, as early as age 2, he could eat a whole bag of the flaming hot Cheetos without a drink. I mean, just he could down, he loved spicy food. It used to scare the heck out of me.
But you were aware that these spices were hotter than what you needed at Meijer?
Yes.
And that it was for disciplinary issues, is that
yes.
correct? Did you ever, the testimony was that you did childcare while Paul was at school or at work? Did you ever administer any of the hot sauce yourself?
If I remember, I might have done some on bread a couple of times.
Okay.
But usually by the time I got home, that either we were cooking food, I had to cook, or I had Paul cook something so I could feed everybody. But I don't recall, I think I did it on bread once or twice maybe, but that was it.
There's a text out there that says you suggested putting hot sauce on his penis. You remember hearing that with the jury?
I remember hearing it, yes.
Do you remember saying those things?
I do not, no sir. We
talked about the ice baths. some called cold baths and sometimes they were called ice baths. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The source of the ice, according to the testimony I heard, was your home refrigerator.
No, it was actually a countertop ice maker. The refrigerator did not have an ice maker in it.
Okay. And you didn't go out and buy the 50-pound bags of ice for the home?
No, I did not.
How much ice are we talking about that tabletop ice maker can?
It actually made about a cup and a half of ice. I had to measure it to use it for, I made some frappes at times.
Okay.
The basket was maybe this wide, and then underneath was the water, where the water was kept, because that's how it made the ice.
Okay.
And then it took about 2 hours to remake more ice.
Okay. All right. Okay. You admit getting frustrated with your child care efforts with Timothy, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Frustrated, discouraged.
Did you ever intend to hurt him?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You raised other children, correct?
Yes, I did.
And while Timmy was malnourished, to your knowledge, have any of your other children ever been reported as malnourished?
No, not at all.
As I looked at Paul, he seemed like a thin guy to me.
He is. We're all pretty small. Well,
Okay.
my oldest is a little bit thicker.
Okay. My question is this: was Timothy's, when he was healthy, was his build like his brother's, or was he built like his older brother, who's a little heavier?
He went back and forth. There was a situation where he actually got on the bathroom scale it was after Mother's Day of 2022. I can tell you why I know it's after Mother's Day if you want me to.
No, that's not necessary.
Okay.
Unless
But
you ask.
I was training a new service dog, as has been discussed. It's a Great Dane puppy. He was 7 months old at the time, and he was too big to sit on the bathroom scale to get his weight, and I wanted to see what he weighed. And Timothy, what we would do is somebody would stand on the scale, get your weight, and then you pick up the dog. And Timothy wanted to help out that day. So I thought the dog would be too big for him at that point. He was already really big at 7 months old. But I said, okay, let's try it. And so it was, like I said, sometime after Mother's Day. It wasn't very long after Mother's Day. But at the time, he was 104. Timothy was.
Okay.
He could not pick up the dog because the dog was 102 at the time.
Okay. Part of this process of providing child care, somebody had to be the eyes in the house when you weren't there, is that correct?
Yes.
And you selected Paul for that purpose.
I didn't have a choice. That was my only option.
How much did you rely upon what Paul was telling you?
I totally relied on him.
Do you remember during the reading of the transcripts, the text, that you asked Paul? Matter of fact, let me. Be honest with me. Are you worried about him at all, or is it all a bunch of BS like it has been for days? Do you remember that? Do you remember that text?
Vaguely, yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember his response?
I remember he said he wasn't worried about it.
Did you rely on that?
Yes, absolutely. He was the one. I was at home so few hours when the kids were awake, unfortunately.
And then you had to try to sleep yourself.
I tried, yes, sir.
And
They slept better than I did.
let's face it, your house is a mess. It's a wreck.
Yes, sir.
Why was that?
I'm not a great person at keeping things clean, and having 3 boys, that contributed. I tried to get their help cleaning up as much as I could, but I just didn't have time or the energy. With the lack of sleep and everything else going on, I barely functioned.
Okay. And that message strike that. I need that. Did you depend? I asked you. Did you depend on what Paul was telling you?
Yes, sir.
In your opinion, did Paul ever, for lack of a better term, sound the alarm?
Not that I was aware of, no, sir.
Okay. That one message, was that it?
That was it. That's the only thing I got from Paul that ever had any concern.
With the one little pictures in it?
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Okay. And okay, let's talk about some other stuff here. Once you discovered that Timothy had passed, and once the police get there, do you tell them the truth?
No. I was so freaked out. I'm sorry. honestly, I've got one. Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome. Why didn't you tell them the truth? Why were you so freaked?
I don't remember what my line of thinking was at the time. I was so I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't.
Were you tired at that point?
I was exhausted. The night before he passed, I had less than an hour of sleep.
Were you frightened at that point?
Absolutely. I just lost my son.
You need a moment?
I'm okay.
Okay. Were you expecting? Was this outcome expected by you?
Absolutely not. No.
So would it be safe to say you were surprised?
I was shocked.
Were you in disbelief initially?
Yes, absolutely.
We've got there's an indication that it took you a while to call the police. In fact, you told Paul not to, according to Paul's testimony. Why did it take you so long? He said 18 minutes out. Why did it take you so long to call the police?
I have no idea, honestly. I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. It was surreal. Like you don't even know what's going on. Time slowed down and I didn't know what was going on.
When was the first time you found out it took 18 minutes to call the police?
Was it yesterday or the day before? Yeah, it was within the last few days.
Okay.
That's the first time.
Do you remember who was testifying when you found out? It doesn't matter.
I think we did.
We've been live for 1 hour and we've been live for an hour.
Discussed it at a meeting on Monday. Was it Monday? I think so. And I heard 14 minutes initially, and then the first time I heard 18 minutes was when Paul said it yesterday.
Do you remember? How clear is your memory of your time and from the time you found Timothy and he had passed, and to the time you finished talking to the police that day?
It's spotty.
Okay. The first officer said that you were distraught. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
He said that you were crying. Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember telling the police that you pulled Timothy from his bunk bed when you found him in distress?
I remember saying something like that, yes, sir.
Was that true?
No, sir.
Do you remember providing CPR for Timothy?
Yes, I do.
When did you stop that?
When the pro-med people walked down into the basement. I had asked them to take over, and they didn't take over right away, but they said I had to leave the area.
Okay. Let's do the hard stuff here. Jury's seen pictures of Timothy. We've all seen pictures of Timothy at the time of his death. How could you not know he was that ill? How could you not know?
Honestly, I was barely functioning. I missed a lot. I hate it because, I feel like a complete failure, but there was things that I just didn't see. There was a lot that I didn't see, unfortunately.
In those texts, you instruct Paul to make sure he's getting enough calories, correct?
Yes, sir. I did.
You had a restricted diet, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you instructed Paul to make sure he's getting calories.
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you rely on that?
Absolutely.
Paul says he called the police ultimately. Who called the police?
I called 911. It was on my phone. I'm sure you can pull the call and find out where it's from.
She is not a bad-looking lady.
Did you intend to hurt Timothy?
And she
No, never.
step on
Did
her
you,
feet.
did you know he was being hurt?
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
The tactics that you use to, first of all, the tactics, well, the tactics that you use to discipline Timothy, did they seem extreme or outrageous to you at the time?
No.
Timothy remained in, you'll admit the bath was not warm on the day he died. It was a cold bath.
Correct, the day
Okay.
before.
It wasn't an ice bath though, correct?
I
As far as
wasn't,
you know.
from the text, it looks like he did, but that wasn't what was said to do.
Okay.
Paul chose to do the ice on his own, if you look at the text.
Okay. So, there's testimony that you remained in that tub for hours. Were you aware of that?
No, I didn't realize he was in the tub, no.
When you came home, you didn't realize he was in the tub?
I did, when I got home, I actually ran him a warm bath when I got home.
Okay. Where?
In the tub downstairs.
Okay, so once you found him in the tub, what did you, explain to the jury what you're talking about.
Well, I had to get Paul to work, and then I came home, and my understanding, at least, was that when Paul had splashed water, he had splashed it on his face only. That's what I understood. So I didn't realize he was still there. And so when I got home, I was like, wait a second, what the? So I decided to go ahead and run a warm bath just to.
There's a bunch of stuff in there talk about make sure he doesn't sleep, make sure he doesn't sleep. What's that about?
There was a couple of situations where Timothy actually intentionally kept everybody in the house awake. He would intentionally set off the motion sensors. He would make noise. With the house being bi-level, you could hear a lot from the downstairs. But he intentionally kept everybody awake.
Okay.
And so that was, okay, if you're going to keep us awake, then you have to stay awake.
Okay. So here's my question. If he slept all day, what would he do all night?
Oh, he'd be up all night. You had to get him up no later than about 10 in the morning, or he was up all night long.
Okay. There's a door that has a dent in it that we saw an exhibit of. Okay? And you heard Paul testify that he did that.
Yes.
What is your recollection of that incident?
What I remember is I remember hearing Paul yell from his room, because his room was directly below the master bedroom. And then I pulled up I wasn't asleep, so I pulled up the main camera in the basement area, and I see Paul come out and kick that door. And I went to hit the button. He was screaming at Timothy while it happened. And I hit the two-way talk button on the camera and said, hey, what the heck? Go back to bed. And I actually had to physically go downstairs and get him away from the door and send him to bed.
Was in the text on occasion, Paul would have say things that suggest aggressions towards Timothy on occasion. Did you know any other circumstances other than what's in those situations in the text?
Oh, absolutely. He never displayed that towards my youngest. He never displayed that towards my husband when he was still at home, or myself. He would get aggressive when he was playing games. He would get really angry. He had some serious anger issues. And then when Timothy moved up, and Timothy did push his buttons some, but he never reacted well. I mean, he just overreacted to Timothy every time. He hardly ever reacted rationally to Timothy.
Okay. And so, other than what he was texting you, and other than what you could see when you weren't working at your job, you don't have firsthand information as to what's going on between Paul and Timothy. Is that correct?
No, I asked my little guy occasionally, but Timothy never told me anything that was going on.
Okay.
So I did. I mean, I asked just because if I had texted Paul and he seemed upset, then I would get home and, hey, is everything okay? And my little guy, honestly, I don't remember him ever saying that there was an issue. He said, yeah, Paul got mad, but that was it. He never said anything happened.
Okay. One moment, please. What was your intent when you would administer punishments to Timothy?
To get him to behave.
Was it ever your intent to harm him?
No, absolutely not. No, the the locks on the fridge and freezer, they're actually, he scared the heck out of me after my husband's stroke. And that's what brought those two on.
Okay.
I can tell you what happened.
What was the incident, and then what was the incident that caused you to put locks on the fridge?
I had just purchased a 2-pound bag of frozen chicken nuggets and put it in the freezer. And overnight, I guess he got around the motion sensors. But the next day, it was a weekend, and the next day I went to, little man asked for some chicken nuggets. And I went to get them, and the bag was empty in the freezer. And I was like, what on, I mean, we hadn't touched it. And so I started asking, and at first Timothy lied to me. He said he didn't touch it. And then I went and checked with little man and with Paul, and nobody had touched so I went back because I had issues with both Paul and Timothy lying to me a lot. So I went back to Timothy. I said, nobody else has touched this. He said, I ate them. I said, okay, did you cook them? He said, no, he ate the whole 2-pound bag frozen,
Okay.
uncooked chicken.
All right. Were you concerned about his health and getting into and eating frozen food?
Yes, and he ate, there was a time where he ate uncooked bacon out of the fridge before the chicken nugget incident. He ate a whole pound of uncooked ground beef at one point. This was all after the stroke when there was less people to keep an eye on.
Did it occur to you he's doing those things because he's hungry? He's starving?
No, there was plenty of food. There was no issues. He never told me he was hungry at the time when these incidents happened.
Okay. So, fast forward.
It's his hair and ugly ass outfit. And Dustin just bought me Real People cigarettes. So I have Real People cigarettes. If you chat and chat, you can smoke a cigarette with me. I'll smoke it with you. There's plenty of people in chat ready to welcome you into our happy little family.
Offer him 2 pizza rolls if he does a certain thing. And you say, I don't care if they're frozen when you give them to him. If you're concerned about him eating frozen food, why would you offer him 2 frozen pizza rolls?
Because the chicken was uncooked and it's dangerous. I had a panic attack when he did the chicken. It was terrifying. I broke down completely.
So the nuggets were uncooked chicken?
Yes, it's uncooked chicken. That could have killed him.
Okay.
It freaked me out.
But the pizza rolls were at least cooked?
Yes, that
Even
was
if they
just,
were
you
frozen?
reheated them.
Okay. He was...
I got weed too, but I just got these cigarettes.
And I'll give you one more. He was rail thin. How did you not notice?
I wish I hadn't answered that. Part of it, he actually, from the time of the stroke, because my husband's stroke was January 3rd of 2022, so most of this was cold weather. Part of it was he wore big clothes, he wore hoodies. The clothes that were sent to him from his dad and stepmom, most of the pants didn't fit him well to begin with. And I had gotten him a couple of pairs of jeans, but I couldn't afford a lot. And he also, once the stroke happened, he got really reclusive. He didn't want, and I had to force him, for a while when he was doing his homeschooling, he would do it on his tablet. And then I found out I tried to lock the tablet down, but he was doing other stuff on his tablet when he was supposed to be doing schoolwork. So I started the curriculum that he was on. You could print the assignments and the questions. So I started printing that, and literally he'd be like, just stick it on the stairs. And he'd give me the other assignments. I would grade them and stick them and put them into the program.
Firefly! Hi, my love. How are you? You pretty little.
But he didn't want anything to do with me, hardly at all.
Yeah, but when you put your arms around your
He
son...
didn't want hugged. He was 15. He didn't want me.
And he was autistic, correct?
He was high functioning.
Okay.
But most of the autism came with interactions with other people. He struggled there.
Why did everybody else say he had speech problems? He obviously didn't have speech problems.
Okay.
Well, it's not obvious. She's the only one that said he's high functioning.
So was it just you he didn't want touching, or was there anybody, he didn't want anybody else?
He didn't want Gabriel, he didn't want little man hugging him either.
Okay. What about Paul? Do you ever see
They
him?
never offered to hug each other.
Thank you.
No.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
She's about to get filleted. Duh. I should have saved my ice cream. But go get your shit ready. Look, pause it right here and go roll you a joint, make you a cigarette, grab you something to eat, get your coffee, because she's about to get filleted. You're about to have steak.
Okay. Mr. Roberts, how long do you anticipate your...
Oh, I'm thinking at least an hour and a half, Judge. So.
Shit. This ain't even. What? This ain't even the right one. Okay. Where did she? Okay. Maybe this is it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan, I want to thank you for your time and attention to these matters. As we've repeatedly indicated, and as now you've seen through the evidence and the testimony in this case, these are incredibly difficult, incredibly sensitive matters, and we certainly do thank you for your time and attention to them.
No. I thought he was questioning her. Sentencing. Prosecution. Okay. Hold on. Prosecution questioning of Sandra Vanderark. Okay. Is complete questioning. Mhm. Okay. Let's see. It says complete.
You may be seated. Mr. Roberts, you can continue.
Thank you. Before we get back to the question I originally...
Okay. No. Closing arguments. Who's she being questioned by, though? Why can't I find who she's being questioned by? Okay, well, where's part 2? Mr. Johnson. I got it
All right, Mr. Johnson, you can call your first witness.
in my mailbox. Hey! Hold on, my cats are fucking being dicks. What the fuck? I don't know what the hell's happening. Okay. Somebody help me. What are we doing? Yeah. Oh, cross-examination. Duh. Why didn't I call it that? Because I'm retarded. Okay. All right. So let's see. We watched that one. So maybe it's this one.
You're reminded you are still under oath.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Vanderark.
Okay. This is the one. Okay. Hopefully you guys have all your stuff ready. Look, I apologize. Forgive me, but you guys see how retarded I am in real life.
Now, Mr. Johnson.
Now get ready for your fucking steak. Oh man, your filet mignon.
Kind of tried to shortchange you a little bit earlier in your earlier in his direct examination when he wanted to talk about your background, your schooling. Remind the jury again of your educational background.
I have a Bachelor of Science degree, magna cum laude, and then I also have a Juris Doctorate, it's a law degree, that I graduated magna cum laude, second in my class.
You're so fucking smart. You're so beautiful and smart.
And magna cum laude, for those that might not be familiar, means with the highest honors, correct?
Yes, sir. In law school, actually,
So fucking smart.
Summa only goes to number one. In at the college level, it's above a certain GPA, but for law school, only number one gets Summa, and then above a certain GPA gets Magna.
And then below that is even cum laude, which is what Mr. Johnson tried to say you were,
Yes,
and I think you corrected him and made sure the jury understood.
Because you're so fucking smart.
Second in your class in law
Yes.
school, correct?
Yes, sir.
And
I know.
you took the bar exam,
I did.
passed the bar exam
First try, yes, sir.
with a very high score, right?
Yes, sir.
What was that score?
182 out of 200.
The bar exam is an incredibly difficult test to pass, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is. And it was like 400 hours of study that went into that.
And the pass rate for it usually hovers somewhere around 60%. So 4 out of 10 people that take it usually fail, right?
I did not know that, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay. But you understood it to be a very difficult test when you took it.
Yes.
And I believe that score would constitute the highest score for that time that you took the bar, right? Your score.
I mean, I don't know. I would assume so.
And you also were magna cum laude in undergrad as well for your
Yes, sir.
bachelor's degree?
Yes, sir.
And where did you obtain your bachelor's degree
Liberty
from?
University.
You had an opportunity to actually work in this very courthouse for a period of time, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I did my law school externship, and then after I graduated law school, I stayed on as an intern. It wasn't paid, but the experience was invaluable to me, so it was worth it.
And particularly the field that you were working when you were working here, you worked under Judge Smedley, one of
Yes,
our
I
other
did.
circuit court judges, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your area of focus that you wanted to really focus in on was appellate criminal work, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had an opportunity to work on some cases here in Muskegon?
I did. Yes, sir.
And eventually that turned into an opportunity to go work for another judge in another county, correct?
Yes, sir.
Up in Newaygo County?
Yes, sir. For another circuit judge.
Right, and you were doing the same type of work there?
Yeah, even more work than what I was doing here, more specific. I didn't do the sentence scorings here, and I did that there. I helped Judge Smedley write one opinion while I was here, but I actually drafted most of my judge's opinions as law clerk.
It's quite the responsibility that you had there, so congratulations on that.
Thank you, sir.
And remind the jury.
You're smart and you're organized. Look at you. You're so smart and organized. You do a good job.
And how many children do you actually have?
I have 5 total.
And
Man, that's a lot of responsibility. But you write court papers. Man, you're so smart.
again, we're not going to name the youngest, little man. I think
Little
we call
man, yes. Nolan is 23 and married. Paul is 21 now. Millie, my only daughter, is 19. She's in college in Oklahoma, as far as I know. I haven't talked to her in a long time. Timothy he would be 17. He was 15, a month shy of 16, and then little man just turned 9 in September.
And with the exception of Timothy, no harm has come to your children in terms of them, dying as a result of malnutrition and starvation, has it?
No, not at all.
Dehydration, hypothermia?
No, sir.
None of those inflicted on any of your other children?
No, sir. They're all healthy.
How do you like your steak?
Detective Piesky, at the time he interviewed you, I think attempted to get some photos of Timothy from your phone, and you told him that you had no photos on your phone of him from January on, did you?
I had one from January, but after that, no, I didn't have any.
But you had a functioning phone.
I have
did, yes, sir.
pictures of
You
my
used it
cat.
to
not
monitor the
pictures of my
cameras that we've
kid.
talked about, the motion sensors, all that stuff. You had the ability to use a phone
Yeah, that's
that was
what I-
your own personal phone.
Yes,
right?
sir, that was my phone.
It wasn't a work phone where there was a
no.
restriction to say, well,
No.
you can't take photos, anything
No.
of that nature, was it?
No,
So you certainly had the ability to have photographs of your child on your phone,
I
right?
did, yes, sir.
Let's talk about some of your health issues, because you listed quite a few issues that you're, in terms of your diagnosis and health issues that you had. I think you said ADHD, something called sensory processing disorder,
OCD,
OCD, those
PTSD.
PTSD. I guess I would kind of classify those more as almost, I don't want to use, I'm not using this word in a negative context, because those are almost more mental disorders. Would you
Yes, sir.
agree with me?
Yes, sir. No, I agree with that.
Right. You also had some physical disabilities as well.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if Mr. Johnson went into those, so why don't
He
you
didn't.
tell the jury what your physical disorders are as well?
I have allergy-induced asthma. I am allergic to almost everything environmental other than animals, every different type of pollen and mold and weeds. And then I am a reactive hypoglycemic. I have been my whole life, but it was actually after Timothy was born. It got much worse. And they finally figured out right after I moved here what was.
Yeah, hit the like button. It's juicy for sure. It'll get your fingers wet. You'll love it. It feels so good. You have a good time. Press the like button.
Going on, but it required, I can eat and my blood sugar will still crash. So I can pass out, I can be doing whatever and just pass out. So,
If I'm not mistaken, you actually, I had the opportunity to meet a very, very nice but very large dog. You had a service animal when you worked here, didn't you?
yes, sir, I did.
Gemini.
Gemini, yes.
And Gemini's function as your service dog was what?
He was scent trained to pick up your blood sugar smell. If you've ever been around a diabetic and their sugar's high enough, they put off this hubba bubba bubblicious smell. Well, we as humans, we can't pick up the low blood sugar smell, but a dog can actually pick up your sugar going up about 20 minutes before we can. And they can pick up the low blood sugar. So he was scent trained. He would let me know when my sugar was about to crash. So I always carried orange juice with me, and that would keep my blood sugar up for 2.5 to 3 hours guaranteed. And then he was also trained, if I ignored his alert, and this did happen at work a couple of times, he was trained, he was off leash, he was trained to go and get somebody to bring them to me to make sure I took care of it so I didn't pass out.
It's just remarkable that dogs can do that. That's just
It
an
is.
aside. And was Gemini the first service dog you had on?
No, sir, he was my second,
Okay, and so you had one before Gemini,
did.
and then
one after.
one after, and that was Sharma? Is that
Sharma,
right?
yes, sir, he was another Great Dane.
Another Great Dane, okay.
I like the big dogs.
So you are certainly, you are keenly aware of your health issues and the things that you need to do to address your health issues, right?
Do you like your steak medium rare? Here it comes.
I take great care of myself, I will admit that.
And the fallback to that is you have a dog that will
It
alert
does.
you if your blood sugar gets low.
Yes, yeah.
So you understand that so you have a backup plan.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
So if I forget to eat or my blood sugar gets too low, then my dog is going to alert me to that, so I've got a backup plan,
Yes,
right?
sir.
But you understand how that works. You understand
Yes, sir.
the medical need to have those things treated.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And the need to have your other issues that we talked about, get treatment for those issues as well, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Sensory processing disorder involves basically overstimulation, right?
Yes, sir.
And you suffer from is a disorder which causes you to become overstimulated with, what, audio and visual stimuli, correct?
That's part of it, yes, sir. It can be stress-related as well.
But as a punishment for your child, you decided that hot sauce, audio alarms, cold, we'll get into this later, but cold, at least cold.
Oh my God, that didn't even go through my head. That's exactly what she was doing to him. She was fucking with his mental disorder. Oh, this bitch needs to go all the way to hell. Oh my God. It's
me, God, right now in God voice. I don't like this shit. That's the shit I don't like. Don't like. That's the shit I don't like. What the fuck? She's not going to heaven. Just so you know, me, God, right now in God voice. No. She's going to the pit.
On ice baths, and isolation and sensory deprivation were appropriate means of punishment. Is that your testimony? Those
Yes,
were
sir.
appropriate forms of punishment?
For some of it, yes, sir.
You also train service animals, correct?
I do.
And when you train service animals, is crate training involved at all?
Yes, it is usually.
Right. And explain what crate training is to Richard.
It depends on what you're using it for. Usually it's part of house training to begin with. And when the service animal in training is very young, you don't get to take them with you 24/7. So you don't want to leave them unattended a lot of times. Plus, putting a dog in a crate, a lot of times that's comforting to them. They like the more enclosed space. So it keeps them contained, keeps them from being destructive, and it teaches them, like for house training, it'll teach them not to do anything in their house, basically, where you take them outside and where they do their business.
And one of the ways you make them feel comfortable in their crates, and so it's their house, is they have a blanket or something of comfort in the crates, right?
I don't usually, at least not for house training, because then they could actually do their business on that and shove it to the back of the crate. So I don't usually put anything in there.
But that is a method that some people do
use
employ.
it. Some
for crate
people
training,
use it, yes,
right?
but I don't.
Right. There's a lot of text messages. We had a lot of testimony from Paul yesterday and a lot of photographs about Timothy's small room. That was basically like a crate, wasn't it?
I don't believe it was that enclosed, but he asked for a space that he could close the door.
He asked to go into that?
He asked for it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the party pen. Don't forget to like and subscribe and chat in the chat. There's plenty of people in there waiting to hug and love on you and welcome you into the weirdo flock of black sheep. So welcome.
He asked for somewhere he could, some place he can go in and close the door. And it was actually half joking. I was like, that's all I've got. Because the other rooms were taken and there was no way he was sharing with Paul, and I didn't really want him sharing with little man either.
But you didn't set that up as a room for him, did you?
Not originally, no. He was actually out in the lower area for a while.
But you didn't put a bed in there? You didn't put
We
a
did
mattress
originally,
in
yes.
there?
He tore it up.
Okay. But there was no mattress, nothing of comfort for there in him the day before he died, was there?
Not that day, no. He had torn it up. I couldn't afford to get another one.
You put a blue tarp in there, didn't you?
That was what was on the mattress previously, yes.
And the tarp was because he would wet himself.
Yes, sir. Because I tried the mattress covers, I tried plastic, I tried some of the rewashable, and he kept tearing them up.
So his place of comfort was a closet with a blue tarp. Is that what you want the jury to believe?
He spent some time there. I wouldn't say that was a place of comfort. I mean,
Spent some time there. Well, let's get into that. He slept in there most nights, didn't he?
After, I don't know. I don't know when exactly. It was. I mean, I know it was after my husband's stroke. I don't know when after that, but once he'd asked for that, yes, he did.
In fact, he rarely even slept on his bed, did he?
He had taken the bed apart and lost some of the bolts. It wasn't safe for him to sleep up there.
So the bed that we see on those pictures, it wasn't even safe to be used?
No.
So it was a complete lie when you told the police officers that you had to pull him off the bed put him on the ground to do CPR, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was a complete lie when you told 911, I need to put you on hold so I can take him off the bed to perform CPR, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. I don't even remember.
So in all your days, all your confusion, all your blacking out, tunnel vision, all that, you were able to somehow remember. I ought to tell everybody that Timothy was sleeping on a bed. Remember doing that?
Vaguely, yes, sir.
Have you ever given hot sauce to the dogs, to train the dogs?
I have put it on a couple of objects to keep them off of objects, yes.
Keeps them away from it, right?
Yes, it does.
Right, because they don't want to eat the hot sauce. And so you never actually grabbed a dog, forced its mouth open, and poured hot sauce down its throat, have you?
No.
Never put hot sauce on a piece of food and then fed it to them, make them eat it, have you?
No, because I don't give my dogs human food. You can't do that with service animals.
No, but you could put it on dog food, couldn't you?
I guess I've never even thought about that, honestly.
So it never occurred to you to use hot sauce, enforcing the use of hot sauce on a dog, but it occurred to you to use that as a form of punishment for your 14-year-old child?
It was Paul's idea, but yes, I was at my wit's end at that time.
It was Paul's idea, and you thought, yep, that sounds like a good idea. I think we'll do that. Is that what you're saying?
I don't remember the exact conversation, but I said, like I said, at that point I was willing to try anything.
We'll get into the text, but there's dozens of texts in here, and this is just a small section of text where you tell Paul, put more hot sauce on the bread. Give him 4 slices of hot sauce. Do you remember those text messages?
Some of them, not very many, but some of them.
Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't punish a dog with hot sauce, but it's okay to punish a child with it.
Objection, Your Honor. That's
I'll move on. Would you stick a dog in an ice bath as punishment?
That would never occur to me. But then having big dogs, I don't bathe them at home anymore.
What the? That would never occur to me. What the fuck?
I use dry shampoo, or I take them somewhere else. I don't have a
I'm
facility.
talking about as a form of. I'm not talking about giving them a bath. I'm talking about using.
I don't have
as
space.
a form of punishment, putting a dog in an ice bath.
I don't have space to do that, so I wouldn't think of that because I don't have space with that size dog.
You're saying if you had a large enough tub to punish one of the dogs, you'd put him in an ice bath?
I can't imagine doing that, but
You can't imagine doing that, right?
correct.
You can't imagine punishing an animal by putting him in an ice bath.
Because animals can't think the same way humans can.
So it's okay to do it on a human because they can think, right? They can think better than dogs can, so it's okay to put them in an ice bath. Is that what your testimony is? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Is it okay to put a human in an ice bath because they can think better than dogs can, but you wouldn't do it to a dog?
I mean, based on the way you asked that, I guess the answer would have to be yes, but it's just it's not
Okay.
the way I think, so.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but you said you wouldn't do it for a dog, but we know you did it as a punishment for Timothy.
I never did personally.
But you told Paul to do it.
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm dead. I'm dead right now. I'm dead. I like my steak well done.
Sometimes.
And it never occurred to you, this is not a good idea. We shouldn't be doing this, right?
No, because it was the amount of ice was almost, it was non-existent, so.
So it's okay as long as it's not a lot of ice in the ice bath? Is that your testimony?
If it doesn't affect the temperature much.
It starts off as cold anyway, doesn't it?
Not originally. I don't know down the road, but originally that's not what I had told him to do. Because the first time that happened was before my husband's stroke. It was, Timothy had, we noticed there was no hot water. And we were like, what the heck? And I went down and I'm looking and I noticed the pilot light's not on the water, it's a gas water heater. I'm like, what on earth is going on?
This ends with Timothy turning off the gas, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
This part of the story, okay.
And he lied about it for 2 days, but.
Let me just make sure I understand then. Is it your testimony that you put ice in an otherwise hot bath to cool it down?
Yes.
Why don't you just start with warm water to begin with?
I honestly don't know. But that's what happened the first time.
So if you repeatedly refer in these text messages to them as cold and or ice baths, but that's what it was at the end, wasn't it? cold baths or ice baths,
At
right?
the end, yes, sir, but not the first time.
Not the first time. You apparently needed iced flannel.
I have no idea what I was thinking. We all had to have cold showers for 2 days, and he'd lied to us about the water heater. I had to have the gas company out.
You remember taking the law school exam test?
The
LSAT?
LSAT? Yes. Oh, I hated that test.
Oh, I did too. Yeah, I agree with you there. There's a section on there that's about logic and reasoning, right?
Yes, sir.
And I kind of explained it to my friends as it's the, so-and-so can't sit next to so-and-so at a party, and this person can't sit on this side of the table, and this, so you have to map out all those things, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm guessing you scored pretty high on the LSAT, didn't you?
I scored pretty well. I mean, I got a scholarship to law school, so.
So for a test that serves your interest for getting into law school, you have no problem using logic and reasoning, do you?
I mean, I managed to score on it. I hated that test. I know I did not miss a single, there's a logic games section. I think I missed one question on that out of 25. And I think the reading comprehension was also something like that. So
You're
I think the law
so
score was actually
fucking
a lot reasoning.
smart. It's so
And yet
fucking
somewhere
smart.
before the time your husband had a stroke, logic told you that you should use ice in a hot bath. Is that your testimony?
Yes, sir.
But then after that, you do acknowledge that it was cold and or ice baths.
Yes, sir.
And that you encouraged Paul to pour water on Timothy, didn't you?
Just the one day.
Just the one day?
Yes, sir.
Which day was that?
The day before he passed away.
Now, Mr. Johnson asked you some questions about homeschooling and not ever taking Timothy to a doctor. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said that the reason you couldn't do that is because you couldn't get your ex-husband to help you out with signing over custody. Do you remember that?
Correct. Yes, sir.
The truth is, you were, by court order, not allowed to have custody of Timothy, weren't you?
That's correct. But I was offered the option of either taking him or they were going to put him in foster care. And I didn't want my son in foster care. I don't think anybody would.
But there was a court order that said you are not allowed to have custody of Timothy. I'm not talking about a custody agreement. I'm talking about a court order that says you can't have custody of Timothy.
My understanding of the order that you're talking about, it wasn't that I couldn't, it's just that I didn't get custody that time.
Oh, no.
Sidebar number 1. This trial is actually good about not so many sidebars. So that's really cool. So what are you guys thinking about it so far? Hold on. Nikki is probably smart. Nikki, she is smart. Okay. Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Michael.
Mr. Reader, we're going to excuse the jury. At this time, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, hold on. All right, we're back on the record. We're going to go ahead and excuse the jury at this time. Thank you.
Here we go. What do we think's about to happen? What do we think is about to happen? And really, she probably only got those scores, keeping those kids locked up like that. Or she only had the one kid, so she didn't really have to do anything but focus on school. She should have never took this kid.
Ms. Vanderark was present when we covered this, and the court was very limited in what it wanted me to ask when I asked that question. And she tried to explain it away by saying that she was then offered a chance to take custody or have the child go into foster care. We know that's not true. And I think that gives me fair game at this point to ask her, isn't it true that you were actually subject to a petition to terminate your parental rights, and the only way that was withdrawn was because you agreed to give up and not have custody of Timothy?
Sir Johnson.
May I ask my client a question? Did you hear the conversation we had about the custody situation and the judge's ruling on that?
Yes, sir.
What did you think that meant? What do you think his ruling on the custody question, whether you could have legal custody of your child meant. What did you think that meant?
Could you rephrase that? Because I didn't interrupt the conversation.
We'll watch the sentencing after this prosecution wraps up our well done steak. So, we'll find out. They're about to give us a steak, and then we'll watch her sentencing. We're almost done.
But while y'all are having that conversation, I mean, my understanding of the exit order, the order you're talking about, was not the way it's been characterized. And I mean, from what Mr. Roberts just said, that was not my understanding of how that case ended.
Okay.
So.
All right. So, Your Honor, my response is this. I want that conversation because I want the court to have an opportunity to determine for herself if my client understood the instructions. Clearly, she did not. Clearly, the way she processes information is different, and she did not understand that she was not allowed to go into those other details. Quite frankly, she sat right here and she heard Your Honor say, this is how far we're going to go. This was clearly a yes or no answer. The rest of that conversation, those responses were not. I would agree with the people were not in keeping with the spirit of the court's order. They didn't get.
I'm saving my prison talk, but prison is not boring. It's not. It is fun. It's not boring. I'm telling you, it's a giant ass dance hall. Have you ever seen the movie Party Monster? Macaulay Culkin explains prison to Seth Green. He's like, it's a fucking big ass dance hall in here. And it pretty much is. Jail is the streets, only smaller.
Get a lot of detail, but they clearly weren't in keeping. I would suggest, Your Honor, that my client be re-explained the limitations of her conversation on that issue, and that there be a corrective instruction given to the jury. I would disagree that we've gone so far into it. I think the court stopped us before we got to that point where it's opening a door that allows evidence in that's more prejudicial than probative. I don't think we're at that point yet. That's my opinion. So I would ask for a re-explanation from my client as to how far she can go in answering this question, and a corrective instruction to the jury.
Mr. Roberts?
You can't ring the bell, Judge, just because the witness decided to answer the question how she wanted to answer the question. That's like saying, well, I want to take back the answer now because I don't like what happened when I answered it. It's not fair. It's not fair to the prosecution. She's a law student. She just sat up here and explained how she graduated second in her class in law school and passed this bar with a score of 182. She sat through this entire trial. She's been taking notes. She's been actively participating. She's trying to answer the questions the way she wants to get her point across, plain and simple. And the court's order couldn't have been any more explicit that it was a yes or no question about, isn't there a court order prohibiting you from having custody of the kids? I get to come back and explain now why she's sitting here saying that she thinks the order said, well, whenever you want custody back, if you want to take custody or the child goes into foster care, you can do that.
All right, well, before I make it...
I'm sorry, I didn't cut the court off. I apologize. I would just offer the court, I'm prepared for limiting instruction to the jury, that they don't consider this as any type of character evidence or anything of that nature. I think that's perfectly appropriate. But this is a mess of her own making at this point.
All right, well, before I make a ruling, I didn't hear her exact answer because I was in the middle of trying to look at Mr. Johnson to say maybe we stop this. So before I make a ruling, I want to hear exactly what her answer was. So I'm going to
The
take
judge
a
said I
recess
was
there.
looking at the defense attorney to see if he wanted to stop this. But this judge said I was looking at this, see if he wanted to stop this.
Look at the record and make a finding. So, yep, we're in recess. Ms. Roberts, you can continue.
Thank you. Just
Here
to
we go.
put a bow on this and clarify things, Ms. Vanderark, is it true that the last custody order from Oklahoma that involved Timothy indicated that you are only to be allowed supervised parenting time?
That is correct.
Now, Mr. Johnson was talked to you about the fact that after Adam had his stroke tragically in January and was out of the home, that was a significant financial hit for you. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And as a result of that, you didn't have a lot of income coming in. You working in Nuevo at that time?
I was, yes, sir.
So when you worked here, it was not a paid internship. You were working in Nuevo for paid internship at that time. Is that correct?
For a paid clerkship, yes, sir.
Right. Clerkship. And then what were your other sources of income at that time?
Which time?
Well,
Yeah, prison might be rough on her. Absolutely. I thought he meant like they were going to beat her up because that's not going to happen. Especially in girl prison. They're all in there for murdering their babies or their husbands. They're not in there. Well, I've met one bank robber. The rest, they murdered the boyfriends or they murdered the babies. Jail. It may be rough on her at first, but she'll learn. Somebody will be her friend first day and teach her how to do stuff. But I'm not supposed to be talking about prison until I make my short videos. Remember, it's what Miss Muddy said.
in January, right after the stroke?
Right after the stroke. The rental income that I received from my brother from Oklahoma, and then I was down to one dog training client.
Now, you're not suggesting to this jury that you couldn't afford to have food for your kids, are you?
No, sir.
We've seen the pictures, and
Sorry.
you don't even show you the pictures of your freezer, your
Oh, no.
refrigerator, your pantry, all pretty well stocked with food. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there certainly was a financial ability for you to provide for your children, at least in a food sense, correct?
Yes, sir. I bought food first.
And you're a highly intelligent woman, and I'm sure you're aware of multiple
But she
resources
knows
available in the
somebody
community if that
because she
ever
got
became
her
an issue.
hair done.
Yes, sir.
United Way, food pantries,
Somebody
anything of that
knew
nature,
her
but
friend
you never felt the need
got
to
her
reach out to
hair
any of those
done.
resources, did you?
No, sir, because we had groceries covered.
You talked about, Mr. Johnson asked you about the motion sensors, and I'm not sure we got like any real sense of clarity about the motion sensors. When we're talking about motion sensors, we're talking about ones that would not only go off if there was motion, that's what a motion sensor is, obviously, but would give some type of audio alarm, right?
Some of them did, yes, sir.
And Timothy had very sensitive hearing, didn't he?
I was not aware of that, no, sir. That's when Paul said that yesterday, that puzzled me.
You didn't know about that? You didn't know he had surgery to put tubes in his ears?
I was there for the surgery for his tubes, but no, I mean, it was, at least my experience with Timothy was half the time he didn't hear what you were saying. So,
Did you know that he found it discomforting when those noises happened? Did you know that was, for lack of a better way of putting it, that was a punishment too for those noises to be going on?
no, sir, I did not.
No, she probably gets 7. The showers are timed. Like they go out at a certain time and you better have everything washed. But depending on what pod you're in and how many girls are in it, you might not get timed at all. But the usual time is 7 minutes. At least in Pennsylvania prison. It's 7 minutes and 5 minutes to eat. The sergeant used to say, emulate and masticate 5 minutes, ladies. All the time. Emulate and masticate. It means chew and swallow. That's what he said it meant. Chew and swallow.
Timothy was autistic, right? He was on the autism
Yes, sir, he was
spectrum.
on the spectrum.
Loud noises, disturbances, things like that. Those are troubling for folks with autism.
For some of them, but he never, I mean, he liked to listen to his tablet extremely loud. And I remember, because little man, sorry, I'm trying not to say his name,
Yeah.
when we have thunderstorms, sometimes it would freak him out, and things like that didn't bother Timothy at all. And Timothy sat with me, okay, go ahead and judge me or laugh at me, but before the PTSD, when I watched college football, I would scream at the vision every play, offense and defense. That's just who I am. And Timothy was right there with me hollering at the TV.
So the alarms didn't bother him at all?
I mean, I wouldn't say they did.
yeah.
I mean, they bother people, probably everybody. But
The good
but
thing
they
the
didn't.
water in there
He
is
wasn't.
not
He
very
wasn't overly
hot.
sensitive to it.
Or
Because it begs the question, if the alarms don't bother him, what's the point in having them?
it's either
Right.
too
Yes, sir.
cold or too
And they were
hot.
there as a disincentive for him to do the things he wasn't supposed to do.
It was to let us know he was doing it too.
Right.
That way we knew what was going on.
But it was supposed to also be, you're
Yes.
not supposed to be doing this, and we know when you're going to be doing
Yes,
this, right?
It was so he knew we would be notified.
And the doing this that we're talking about is coming out of the basement area of the home, right?
Coming upstairs in the middle of the night, yes, sir.
Coming upstairs in the middle of the night?
Yes, sir.
So these would only be active at night?
I only turned them on at night, yes, sir.
So there's no text messages in there about turning on the motion sensor during the day so he can't come upstairs?
I mean, I don't recall it, but
But you would, if those are in there, you would agree with me then that you were using the motion sensors to keep him downstairs even during the day, right?
I mean, if it happened occasionally, I'm
Sure.
just,
Do you remember the text exchange about turning off the alarms so that he can go to the bathroom and then turning the alarms back on after he's done going to the bathroom? Do you remember those?
that was read the other day, vaguely, yes, sir.
Well, I'm sure you remember them from being read the other day. Do you
Yeah.
remember sending those text messages?
No, sir.
No memory of those text messages?
No, sir. And you're talking, are you talking motion sensor, or there was
I'm
one?
talking motion sensor right now.
Okay, the motion sensors are still, that's different. You're talking about it was actually for a bike alarm, like for somebody stealing a bike, I guess it was. And that was the one that you were referring to. The motion sensors that we've been talking about are posted in the house, and those didn't need to be turned on or
I
off.
see. So the motion sensor with the alarm was the one that was outside, is what you're saying? The motion sensor with the alarm, the one that makes noise, was not one that was in the house?
Yeah.
No, they were up on the
Shit full of
stairs.
shit.
There's a personal one that you could attach to whatever you wanted to.
Right.
There's one of those, and then there were several on the stairs.
I see. Okay. And the purpose of the one on the stairs one was to make sure he didn't come upstairs.
In the middle of the night, yes, sir.
Right. And the ones that you could attach to a thing, you actually attached to a person, didn't you?
Occasionally, yes, sir.
Wow.
So
I would love if the
let's talk about
behavior
the cameras
panel,
then.
like if the behavior panel watched something on this.
Well, I guess let me ask you this question. So the motion sensor goes off, the alarm goes off, maybe it doesn't go off, maybe it's not one of the ones that have an alarm on it. So what? How is that a deterrent, or how is that a punishment to Timothy?
That wasn't meant as a punishment. It was to let us know so we could go make sure that he was.
You know what I just thought of? During the interrogations, she showed up with a lawyer and she let Paul go in there and talk to him by himself. She didn't even bother telling him to get a lawyer. Oh, yeah, she's so fucking smart, isn't she? She's so smart. This bitch.
He wasn't wandering around. He wasn't getting into taking batteries apart and messing with stuff that he shouldn't have been.
So you wanted to restrict his movements, and you wanted to know if he moved out of the basement area whenever the motion sensors were on.
Yes, sir.
And the cameras are, I think you testified that the camera, at least initially, you put the camera in place in G's room to make sure that he wasn't running around without his clothes on, right?
Yes, sir. When he was a toddler, he would strip down.
How does putting a camera in his room to show him running around restrict him from doing that?
Well, it doesn't restrict it. It was to let us know that he was doing it.
And you have a problem with him running around?
He wasn't
naked?
potty trained.
Wasn't potty trained, I see. But otherwise, if you're potty trained, it's okay to have your children running around naked?
No,
No. You wouldn't want to have a child running around your house naked, would you?
no,
You wouldn't want G to see his brother running around naked, would you?
no.
Then I'm wondering why the text message that you sent to Paul about Timothy making a mess in the garage was that he had to clean the garage without anything on below the waist.
Do you like do you like your steak burnt?
And then he could stand against the wall without anything below his waist.
What the fuck?
I don't remember that, sir. I'm sorry.
Dude, his mom wanted to see his pecker, or his brother did. Remember, his brother wanted to see him in the shower naked.
You don't remember that text message?
No, sir.
Interesting. Take a look at, this is from the larger text messages. This is all the text messages between you and Paul. It's a few hundred, if not 1,000 pages. Take a look at, this is page 5783 if Mr. Johnson wants to reference. The blue is your text messages. Can you read that for the jury, please?
The blue one says, my bigger issue is that you said you checked every minute or so, but checking on the camera would have told you he wasn't listening. I'm not absolving him of responsibility by a long shot, but there are reasons the cameras are in place.
What time was that sent?
4:14 p.m. it looks like.
So at 4:14 p.m., you're upset with Paul because he's not watching Timothy every minute on the cameras, right?
If I remember correctly, that particular day, yeah, he said he was going to check. That wasn't, I didn't expect him to check every day, but there were days that were much more challenging, and that was when I asked him to keep a closer eye on.
Where's the text message that describes what the challenging incident was that day?
I don't know, sir. I mean, there was a lot of challenging incidents.
Going upstairs?
No, sir.
Going upstairs was okay during the day?
As long as he was being monitored, yes.
I hate this woman.
You talked about, we talked about the autism already. You talked about a number of other issues that that Timothy had: bipolar, ADHD. Were there some other ones?
Sensory processing disorder.
Sensory process. So he had the same disorder that you did.
Yes,
the
sir.
sensory processing disorder.
But there's different manifestations of it.
He had the one where his senses being overloaded didn't make a problem for him. Is that what you're saying?
He was more hyposensitive, which means he didn't react the way a typical person would, as far as less of a reaction. There was a time, I was told about it when we still lived in Oklahoma. I guess he was being given a bath and he fell and hit his jaw, and he didn't say anything. He didn't say he was in pain. Well, I guess he went to someone's bedroom, and my oldest son brought him back out, and he had completely bitten through his tongue and not said anything. So he did not react as much to stimuli as most people do. There's hypo and hypersensitive, and he was hyposensitive.
And is there medication for that you take?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't.
Do you go to counseling for you, or did you go to counseling for you?
Not for that, no, sir.
For any of your other issues, though?
I have over time. It's been a long time.
But in fact, the entire time Timothy was in the state of Michigan, you never took him to a counselor or a doctor to address any of those issues, did you?
No, sir, I didn't have the insurance information.
You didn't reach out to any resources community that might have been available to help, did you?
I did actually
Yes or no? Did you reach out to any resources in the community? Which ones?
I contacted DHHS about getting him on Medicaid, but they said that because he had other insurance, that would be primary, so we still had to have that information.
Did you reach out to Community Mental Health, or Health West, I guess it's called now?
I didn't. I wasn't aware of it. I hadn't heard of Health West until I started working in the courthouse.
Right. You worked in this courthouse, in the county that you live in, for at least an entire summer, as I recall correctly, and you never knew that we had a mental health agency here in Muskegon County?
I didn't realize that's what it was for. I honestly, I didn't think about it. As far as resources go, the only thing that I thought about was DHHS for things like Medicaid and food stamps.
Mr. Johnson asked you about the alarms on the doors, and your response to him was that the alarms went on the doors about 3 weeks before Timothy passed away. Is that correct?
I was approximating
Somewhere
it.
in there. Okay.
You can look up the Amazon history on my phone.
Well, I'll do one better than that. This is page 3932 of the text messages from you. Could you go ahead and read that exchange for the jury and the date, please?
Did he say miraculously? No,
This is Paul's response now, right?
Yes. No, I was emphasizing because I turned on the alarm, yet he slipped past. That's not good. We need to put up the other 2 alarms tonight later on. That's the motion sensors.
But you referred to them as alarms.
Yes, sir, I did.
Right, and that was
That's
in
what we called them. That was February.
February.
That was motion sensors.
Right. Months before he died.
Yes, sir.
You just mixed up what an alarm and what a motion sensor is?
Yes, sir. That's what I called them alarms. I didn't call them motion sensors most of the time.
This one's a little bit longer exchange, but if you could read 3996 for me, please.
Just this page.
Nope, the whole thing that's stapled, please.
Is it snowing at home currently? KK, Timothy apparently ate my Pop-Tarts a few days back. Not anymore. Are you kidding me? When did he do that? He said he doesn't know the exact day. That's a bunch of BS, and how did he do it? Did he sneak down to the bathroom? He says it was before we had the other alarms. I said, that's not true because we've had those for over a week now.
That shit, I don't believe. I think he was forced to say that shit. I know he was forced to say that. There's no way that kid ate 3 of anything. No, don't believe it.
And Pop-Tarts in that box as of this past weekend or Friday at the very latest. That's still the motion sensors.
Okay,
That's
so
what I call
again,
them.
you refer to the motion sensors as
Yes,
alarms
sir.
there, and you're upset at that point because Timothy's eating some Pop-Tarts. Is that my understanding of this text?
This is bullshit. Man, how do you like your steak? Deep fried? Deep fried steak. Country fried steak.
In that case, because he stole them, Paul had gotten them for himself and because he stole them.
Do you like steak nuggets?
And that date, I don't know if we read it or not, but you would agree with me that it's on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2022, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, why don't you take a look at 3702. Crossed out the parts that it's not really necessary for you to read, and just go ahead and tell the jury that date and what's on there.
The date is January 24th.
Okay.
Did Timothy have to wash his sheets? Question mark. Yes. I said, ugh, okay, pretty sure that is him pouting over the extra camera and motion sensors.
So, and that was in January of 2022, correct?
Yes,
So
sir.
no problem referring to a motion sensor in January of 2022, but suddenly, come February, you mix up what an alarm and what a motion detector are.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes, sir. Like I said, you can check the Amazon history.
You don't want to revise your testimony about when it was that you started using alarms on the door?
No, sir, because it's in my Amazon history when I purchased those.
Man.
Mr. Johnson asked you about Timothy being on medication for a lot of his issues, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said that when he came to you, he was like a zombie, right?
Yes, sir.
So you decided to take him off those medications, didn't you?
No, sir, we couldn't get refills. We had to get a refill through a doctor, and we didn't have a doctor.
So your testimony wasn't that you took him off those medications?
I said that I wanted to.
You wanted to.
Yes, sir. At least some of them, because they were, he was a zombie. It was horrible.
You wanted to take him off the medications, and it happened anyway because you can get refills for him. So you're actually happy that that happened.
Not the way it happened, but he wasn't a zombie afterwards.
But you
No,
definitely
he
did not
was a
consult with the doctor
victim
before you did that.
afterwards. This bitch.
No, sir, because we ran out.
But and again, didn't reach out to any, besides DHHS, didn't reach out to any resources in the community that might have helped you out with a child with such severe emotional issues that you have to use motion sensors and later alarms and locks on things. You didn't reach out for any resources before you just decided to stop him taking medication.
Before he ran out, I wasn't aware of, like I said, DHHS is pretty much the main resource that
This is lazy as fuck. She works in a place where people know people. There is no Jesus smashing reason she did not know anyone. There's friends at school. There's all sorts of things. People know people. This is absolute bullshit. Jesus smashing bullshit.
Aware of.
Did you ever talk to somebody and say, look, I'm at my wit's end here. I did reach out to resources and talk to the judge that you were collecting for. Say, what can I do to get some help here? Did you ever do any of that?
I talked to some friends at work,
And they
but
nobody
I
could
didn't
come
ask.
up with an idea?
I didn't ask for resources. I just vented to them, and nobody suggested anything. I didn't ask.
This is bullshit.
It's rather unusual the way this question was answered by you. She said there was one time that your mother-in-law saw Timothy.
Yes, sir.
One time.
Yes, sir.
Just the once.
After the stroke, yes, sir.
Just once in 6 months was the only time.
As far as I remember, yes, sir. That's what I believe.
In fact, you went to great lengths to make sure that the grandmother, that's Grammy, that's the person you
Grammy,
referred to
yes.
as Grammy, right? Your mother-in-law. You went to great lengths to make sure that she wasn't allowed in your home, didn't you?
I mean, that was just because the house was a mess.
Did you have some type of tracking device on her to know where she was?
We had her phone under our phone plan, so I could look up find my iPhone. Because usually when she was, that way, Paul wanted to know when she was coming to get Gabriel. Oh, sorry.
Let me show you what's page 4284. This is a lengthy exchange, but go ahead and read that for the jury. It's from, I believe, March 28th.
Soot. Stupid thing writing on my watch. That should have said good. Grammy left home about 10 minutes ago. Hopefully she will not beat me there this time, but please have him ready to go. And please keep a very close eye on your messages. I will track her on the app as I head home. Hey, I need to make sure you're seeing these messages. And please make sure his new shoes are on him. Okay, thank you. And do not let Grammy inside.
Exclamation point.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Okay, she will probably beat me there, but not by more than a couple minutes. You get clothes on too, please. Okay, go ahead and take Gabriel outside and send Timothy down to stand up against the wall downstairs. You can, it says create the puppy too, but OL and then okay. She should be pulling up pretty soon. Okay, I got it. I'm glad you got it, but you better be outside. He is outside. Do you want to say goodbye?
That's Paul's response back to you, right?
Yes. And I said, yes, I do. I'll be there in just a minute. Headed to the car now. How's it going there? He said, good. Already taped the coat rack.
I think you can stop there. So you're tracking her movements on your phone as you're driving home.
At stoplights, yes, sir.
Because you're worried that she's going to see a messy house.
Yes, sir.
And the solution to that is put Gabriel.
I want to tell you, if you come to my house, it is messy. Dustin's room, the living room is pretty clean. The dining room is trashed with toys. The party pen is trashed. The kitchen is mostly clean. I just don't mop the floor, so do not eat anything off my floor. And there's a cat box in there in my kitchen, along with raccoon food. And raccoons hang out in my kitchen. Yep, so don't eat anything off my floor. I rarely vacuum and my windows are smashed. So expect a tornado when you come to my house.
Outside so that he's
Are your guys' houses perfect?
outside she gets there, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. That was March 8th,
Can you eat off your floors?
right? So rather than his grandmother come into the house, even the entryway of the house, in the middle of winter, not middle of winter, on March 8th, your solution was put Gabriel outside, make sure she doesn't come in. Do not let her in the house.
Paul was outside with him.
Exclamation point.
I've never put him outside by himself. Paul was outside with him.
4044.
Please also have some decent clothes on in case I need you to bring a little man out.
I doubt she's gonna go to the big prison. Maybe she'll go to a little, uh, like the medium security prison that I was in, or low to medium one. She could go to low because she's not really a problem. So if she goes to low security, it's going to be great for her. If she goes to medium security, it'll be okay for her. And if she goes to maximum security, that might be when you might have to watch your butt. But she's not a violent person, so she's gonna go to medium or low security, which wouldn't be a problem.
Grammy does not beat me there. It looks like it will be close. He said, okay, said, I will tell you when to take him outside to wait for her. Just please make sure she doesn't leave until after I get there. I haven't been away from Gabriel at night since this all started, and I need to give him a hug and kiss before he goes. Okay.
What about you, Firefly or Feather? Other people in the chat, can you eat off your floors? How does your house look? Is it as messy as mine? Has anybody, yeah, you guys have seen the party pen. Does your house look as bad as mine?
Go ahead and go outside and wait for her. It shouldn't be more than a few minutes before she gets there. Just please don't let her leave until after I get there. She is almost there. Are y'all outside?
Yeah, I believe
I would like a
that.
response to that message. Question mark. You might need to make Timothy stand with his nose, it says of, against the front door on the inside. Please tell me that you and the child are outside. Seriously, no response. I'm almost there and I'm...
You're a germaphobe. Oh man, you would not like living with me. I am a fucking tornado. But I'm trying to rearrange. But then I'm a tornado even when I rearrange. That's what I'm telling you. If my house is ever clean, get a hold of somebody that knows me and make sure I'm okay.
You're upset because at that point you don't know whether or not she's going to come into the house, aren't you?
I was upset because I wasn't getting a response. That drives me crazy. It's a pet peeve. I hate not getting a response via text message.
Right, so you better have my child standing outside so his grandmother doesn't go inside, and oh, by the way, put my other child up against the front door with his nose against the wall, right?
Because he was in trouble for something. I mean, I don't know what happened before that exchange.
What would he do to get punished to have him make sure he's standing against the wall with his nose against the door?
That was one of the punishments. We'd make him stand against the wall with his nose. And the reason I had it against the door is because...
I see other people in here. You can chat in the chat. You shouldn't judge because remember, you're hanging out in the party pen. So, but you do have your own little space, but my cats might jump on you or scratch you, but they'll probably just jump on you.
when I'm getting into anything. That way Paul had a better ability to monitor.
But my mountain cat has a thing with biting people's butts. Like if you sit in a chair, she'll bite your butt. But she's a mountain cat. It doesn't really hurt that bad, kinda. It kinda tickles a little bit. She does it to me too.
4123. Remember, we're not saying your younger son's name.
Yes. When you get home, please make sure G's face is not a mess and he isn't filthy dirty, and then please get socks and shoes on him and his headphone case in his backpack, and maybe his blue headphones as well. Okay. Also, please watch him, but please have Timothy get those 2 pumpkins off the front porch and into the trash can.
She is blue and she has no tail. And she is the meanest predator in this house. My little cats, they will bring you earthworms. because they think they are the greatest fucking thing.
Grammy gets there. Grammy isn't supposed to get there till 6:15, but she was early last time, so she might do that again. I hope not. Remember to bang loudly on the door 3 times, please. I will let Timothy know to listen from here, for you here in the next few minutes. And Grammy may just beat me there again, which doesn't make me happy, but anyway. If she does, do not let her in the house this time. Okay. Work was fun. I accidentally scratched my palm with a knife opening a bag and then cut my elbow from banging my funny bone on a metal carton.
That was Paul's response back to you.
Yeah, that was his.
So that's 3 text exchange all within a couple of weeks of each other where you are absolutely consistent that the boy's grandmother, G's grandmother, not come into the house. Right?
Yes, sir.
The point where you're tracking her phone while you're driving home from work. Right?
Yes, sir. I only tracked it when I was stopped. I wouldn't do that while I was driving, but
Now, Mr. Johnson asked you about the leg irons. Do you recall that?
yes, sir.
And you said that those were Timothy's leg irons, correct? Or no, I'm sorry, that they were, your testimony here today was that those were ordered by Paul and Paul would use those on Legos, correct?
Yes, sir. Actually, I don't think I testified about I know that they were Paul's purchase. I don't think I actually testified about the Legos. I think that was a conversation with police.
Well, I'll leave the jury to their recollection of that, but I remember you saying Legos, and I'm not ashamed to admit the fact that I'm actually a fan of Legos too, so that's why it stuck out in my mind that you just said it earlier today. To be clear, your testimony is those were Paul's, those were never used on Timothy, right?
As far as I know, yes, sir.
Okay. Let's look at that top text message, 5460. These top 2 text messages. Again, the blue is you.
The Wisely transaction is handcuffs and leg cuffs for Timothy from Amazon. Figured it would be okay to get those right away till we can talk about the sensors and stuff. If not, please say so and can cancel the order.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that message?
No, sir, I don't.
You really do have some memory problems, don't you?
Yes, sir. That's common with PTSD.
Page 5829, if you could read that last text there at the bottom and then continues on to the next page.
He has moved around, so he got the cuffs in front of him instead of behind him.
Go ahead and flip the page and read the next one.
I put the cuffs back behind him. I will have to deal with less than 2 hours of sleep today, but not letting him get away with this BS.
I put the cuffs back behind him. That is your text message.
Yes, sir.
So you use handcuffs on Timothy.
I don't remember, honestly.
You don't remember using?
No, sir.
And you said that the transaction, the Wisely transaction, was the leg cuffs and handcuffs for Timothy. That was your text message.
That's what the message said.
Is that the I don't know as well? You don't remember that one either?
Between the time of the stroke and Timothy's passing, I don't remember a heck of a lot.
But somehow you can remember when the police ask you about the leg irons and the cuffs, you say those were for Paul for a TikTok video, right?
I think that's what I told
That's
them.
what you told the police?
Yes.
So you don't remember things, but you have the wherewithal to make it look like, no, those don't involve Timothy, those were Paul's. It's pretty self-serving, isn't it?
Argumentative.
I'll withdraw the last part. You had the wherewithal to say that the cuffs that they found belonged to Paul when your text message indicates they were actually for Timothy, right?
Apparently, yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson asked you about the zip ties. Remember?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever use zip ties on Timothy?
To attach the personal sensor.
Okay.
And then I remember hearing about a conversation about them, yes, on text. I don't remember it, but I remember hearing about it when it was read.
You remember hearing about a conversation. Did that make you stop and go, oh my goodness, we can't be putting Timothy in zip ties?
Yes, I mean, that's what I thought here. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
sure, okay. Well, then this, if you care to read the bottom of 4227, that's Paul's message to you.
This is from earlier. He just won't listen or does something I didn't tell him he could. He just tried claiming his zip cuffs were too tight when I didn't even tighten them to where there's no room for his wrists.
This is your response now.
Yeah, leave them as they are, and I will check them when I get home, and you can tell him that. And if he lied about that, he gets himself in even more trouble. You want me to keep going?
No, that's fine. Leave them as they are, and I will check them when I get home. You want to revise your earlier answer to the question when you said that you would have said, oh, no, don't use zip cuffs on Timothy?
I don't.
Who else has animals? Who else has any animals? I have a whole lot of nature's outcasts. I had 5 raccoons, but they had babies. I think there's 8 raccoons now and 12 cats.
I don't recall that, sir. I'm sorry.
Don't recall that either.
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, it's less than 12 cats, I'm sure. There's Lucky, Blue, Captain, Spaz, Willow, Rose, Lucky, Maynard, Sam, and Little Guy. That's 10 cats. Haha. I got fucking 10 cats.
You seem to be having a lot of difficulty when it comes to the text messages that are talking about the things that you either did or want done to Timothy. Is that where the memory issues kick in for you?
It's most of what happened. It's not just text messages. And it doesn't just involve him. The events of the whole 6 months are.
So so all the other text.
All right, you may be seated. Mr. Roberts, you can continue.
Thank you.
Anything for the record before we break, Mr. Roberts?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
No, sir, thank you.
We are in recess. All right, you may be seated.
Here's more of her testimony.
Thank you.
I think it's really weird that your grandma named her dog the same as my cat, even though we didn't even know that each other had pets.
I think we're just finishing up. I was just talking about the ice bath with you. Again, your text was, let him know that if he tries to sleep at all, he'll get another ice bath sometime before you leave for work, and another when I get home.
See it.
So let's break apart
That's
that
what I'll
sentence.
name the one I
And that
call
was on
Little
March
Guy,
27th.
because he doesn't have a
9
name,
days
so
before
we'll call him
that
C.A.T.
estimate. Let him know that if he tries to sleep at all. This is at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're saying
I see other people watching. You can chat, and chat is not scary in here. You can tell us what kind of animals you have, anything you want. Go ahead. Feel free to chat. You can even tell us what you think about what this lady's saying. Just don't be highly aggressive.
he is not allowed to go to sleep, right?
Yes, sir.
So 3 o'clock in the morning, your 15-year-old child is not allowed to be sleeping. And if he does, he gets an
I did have a Cocker Spaniel named DOG. No, I totally get it. CAT. Oh, yeah. I like CAT better. But the DOG, I did have a Cocker Spaniel named that.
nice, right?
And I had a cat named Kung Fu Kitty.
And
No, it was Kung Pao Kitty. Kung Pao Chicken is Kung Pao Kitty.
another ice bath, i.e. there's already been an ice bath prior to this text being sent, correct?
No, sir. It would be one and then another, is what it says.
Okay, well, let me read it again and make sure maybe I've misread it. Let him know that if he tries to sleep at all, he'll get another ice bath sometime before you leave for work, and another when I get home. There's 2 anothers in there, isn't there?
Yes, sir.
The first another refers to the first ice bath. In other words, there's already been an ice bath, right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not questioning the what's in the text, but I don't know.
Okay. And then sometime before Paul leaves for work, he'll get another ice bath, and then another one when you get home. So 2 ice baths, in addition to the one he's already had, right?
If that's what it says.
And that's for the crime of sleeping.
I don't know what the original, whatever happened before.
Hello, Mr. Scott. Welcome. You can feel free to tell us what kind of animals you have or what you know about Shanda Vanderark, anything.
For that.
But you know what it was to get him to not do another one, right?
Yes, sir.
The rules of chat is don't be a party pooper. Your free speech ends when 3 or more people in the chat get offended.
Let him know that
That's
if he
what it
tries
says.
to sleep at all.
That's what it says, yes, sir.
Might want to toss the ice that is made into some Ziploc bags in the freezer tomorrow for if we need a bunch more. I think that kind of speaks for itself. We'll move on. Let me show you an exchange from May 9th, 2022. This is 5348.
That is that is a like, you know what? We call our boy cat named Jack. I got 11 cats. We call our boy cat Jack Cat. So, yeah, I totally get it. He answers the Jack Cat.
5348. Sorry, 5347. So give me just a second.
Oh, Feather is so amazing. You must be a weirdo. Awesome. Welcome home. This is a place for people that feel strange in the world. And I'm so glad that you found the party pen. Welcome. My normal content is I read the Old Testament in a very fun way. Me and God have a great ass time and God voice. It's amazing. So maybe come and check it out. It'll be tomorrow at 3 p.m. in the afternoon because YouTube sucks at 3 p.m. So why not have a good laugh?
I apologize. Okay, start at page 5340, and this is from May 9th. I don't think you need to read the top one. That's Paul's message. Go ahead and start reading there. From May 9th, 2022.
What is daddling anyway? Please make sure Timothy goes into his room with the alarm on when you leave. I should be home not too long after you go, as long as you before you go. And please let me know where you put the alarm when you leave.
All right, let me stop you right there. This is May 9th.
Why isn't she crying when she reads this?
And again, you're referring.
I would be fucking dying reading this. Oh my God. How is she not crying reading this horrendous shit?
To an alarm, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This
Go
is, okay.
Go ahead.
Because I know what that's referring to.
Let's keep going.
Okay. KK, thanks.
We might have scared him away with that weirdo word. But it's not weirdo in a bad way. Do you want to hit this joint? Like, dude, I don't get it at all.
YW, you're welcome. I logged out of that for you, but you will not be allowed to have any devices tomorrow before work unless you manages to get everything done I assigned to M standards, which will not be easy. I'm not sure what part of Timothy going nowhere but the bathroom without being watched closely, but he stole a bunch more of the Easter basket today and hid the wrappers behind the washer and dryer because he obviously.
What the fuck? Did he really? Look. My kids are terrible criminals. They also sneak food and eat all my food in the middle of the night. always. And I hide a lot of food in my bedroom because the motherfuckers are not going in my bedroom because they're not allowed. And me and their dad have memory, and we know when shit's missing. But I never thought of this before. Like, I don't get it.
Watched as he should have been.
Okay, so at that point on May
Oh, yeah, the point of that was they're such bad criminals. They don't know how to clean up after themselves. They don't know how to hide their evidence. Like, you kind of feel bad for them because, like, it's like you guys have never had outside experience and you guys do not know how bad it's going to be for you because you don't know how to be sneaky.
9th, you're saying that Timothy
Is your idea, Nikki, quit pausing this fucking video because I'm going to.
needs to be watched if he goes everywhere except to the bathroom, right?
He needs to be watched, yes, sir.
For committing the crime of what?
We had a combined Easter basket that year, and so I had divvied it out between everybody, and he stole some that was with cheese, and I don't remember if it was Paul's or mine, but he'd already had his portion of it.
So taking candy from an Easter basket means that he gets watched and can't have any privacy anywhere except the bathroom, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, keep going.
It was a star. What part of watching Timothy closely was unclear? Sheesh.
Let me stop you right there. What
Okay.
part of watching Timothy was unclear? Why was it that you believed at that point that Paul wasn't watching Timothy?
I was correcting, it's the little star. I was correcting what, where was it? Usually if I use the star like that, it was for, to correct something that I
No,
messed up or something
Ricky.
I messed up. I don't know, I'm
Please learn how to make a cartoon so we can turn Das Bible into a cartoon.
not sure. I've only got these messages, I'm not sure.
Okay, but the part that you read there said what again?
What part of watching Timothy closely was unclear? Sheesh.
Okay, so you were upset at that point that Paul wasn't watching Timothy closely enough, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the only way you would know that Paul wasn't watching Timothy closely enough is if you were also watching Timothy closely enough, correct?
I don't know at that point. I don't know if somehow I found out about the Easter basket. Hold on. Okay, yeah, we must have been at a baseball game. It was 6:20 p.m., 6:43 p.m. So yeah, I must have been watching him from
So you're at a baseball game for G and you're watching
Checking on
Timothy
it,
and
yes.
Paul to make sure Paul's watching Timothy closely enough. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you remember all this text exchange?
No, sir, I don't.
You don't remember this at all?
No.
Okay, go ahead. Keep reading.
Okay. Okay, there's no way that was today, Mama. Don't blame me. He
That's
literally.
Paul, right?
Yes.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's Paul, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He literally never had the opportunity to steal anything. I made sure of that.
The response to that is?
When he was putting clothes on my bed, he did actually. And watch, it's ye tone with me. Should have been the, not ye.
Right. So you knew that Timothy had done something when he was putting clothes away?
Yes,
right?
sir.
And the
Because
only way
the-
you would know that is by monitoring the cameras, right?
Yes, sir. I never gave him permission to even set foot in your room. I swear he must have done it when I went to the bathroom.
Okay, keep going.
He's trying to get me in trouble here,
This
Mama.
is all Paul, right?
Yeah, this is Paul.
Okay.
And I told him to go to his room when I did. I brought him downstairs with me so his sneaky butt escaped. I watched him go into his room.
And what's your response there?
I said he said he never asked, but I've mentioned before to take him downstairs when you go to the bathroom so he can't escape.
All right,
Yes.
Let me just,
Okay.
that's, I think we just.
Wow. What the hell did you just say? Oh, he's going for escape.
No memory.
What
from
is he
Hunter
escaping
Because of all the
from?
blackouts, all the tunnel vision, all the PTSD, right?
Yes, sir.
What? I didn't hear that. No. I'll read it. Don't turn my Bible videos into Bible. Yeah, we'll do that. Hmm. Hi, other people watching. Hi, press a like and subscribe and chat and chat. And Mr. Scott. The Vanderark case is she killed her child and she said she's not guilty because PTSD and shit.
Okay. He said he never asked, but I've mentioned before you need to take him downstairs when you go to the bathroom so he can't escape. That was what you said, though, right?
Yes, sir.
You actually used the phrase escape in relation to your
Escape.
15-year-old child.
Apparently, yes, sir.
As if he was some prisoner.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Who else needs to escape but a prisoner? I'll withdraw that. May 9th, right?
Yeah, that's what it said.
You don't remember that at all?
No, sir.
When was Mother's Day 2022?
I don't remember, honestly.
If I told you it was May 8th, would you have reason to doubt that?
No, sir, not at all, I believe you.
Mr. Johnson was asking you, and you were very eager to tell him about something that you remembered happening on sometime just after Mother's Day, right?
Correct.
That Timothy got on a scale and weighed 108 pounds.
104.
104 pounds. I'm sorry, I'm glad you corrected me. I wrote it down as 104 pounds.
Sir, share
It's
it.
amazing your memory is that good that you can remember what your son weighed sometime after May 8th, but you can't remember talking about having him escape. Would you care to explain that?
Escape.
Yes, sir, that happened with the PTSD, with everything else that was going on. I would, especially when I got stressed, it would, the tunnel vision, and, I mean, I can't, for lack of a better term, blacking. Pretty much any time my
Wait, you black out and send text messages. Are you fucking drunk? What is happening in life? I don't know what's going on.
stress went up.
What's
and
happening?
I mean, it wasn't up that day that we did the
I don't know what's
the dog.
happening.
So you can't remember all of these text messages about the ice baths and the hot sauce and the zip ties and the handcuffs, but you remember over 18 months ago that your son weighed 108 pounds sometime after Mother's Day of 2022, correct?
104, yes, sir.
104.
Well,
You got it down. You're right.
He
104
made,
pounds.
well, he made a comment that just, things like that will stick out to me sometimes. And when he couldn't pick the dog up, bear in mind, this is a service dog in training, so he's used to getting commands. And Timothy, I remember he put his hands on his hips and looked at Sharma and said, "Next time you get to pick me up." And the dog tilted his head like, "I don't understand that command." And it just, that struck me. It sticks in my head. I don't know why, but that sticks in my head.
What day was it?
I don't know what day of the week it was, sir. It was during the week.
About how long after Mother's Day was it then?
I don't remember, sir. I know, the reason I know it was after Mother's Day is because Mom, my mother-in-law, for probably the last 4 or 5 years, as a Mother's Day gift, has given me cherry tomato plants and then miniature cucumber plants, and I keep them in like plant bags. I normally have a black thumb, I admit it, but I've managed to keep these alive pretty well. And I had just, when I came upstairs to weigh the dog, I had just gone downstairs and checked on my plants. So the plants were outside then, so I know it was after Mother's Day, I just don't know when.
Plants never missed a feeding then, did they?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
What's argumentative about it? She's proud of herself and keeping plants alive.
Plants never missed a feeding.
Mr. Roberts says it's an irrelevant question, so sustain.
So your testimony is Timothy weighed 104 pounds sometime after May 9th, correct?
This prosecutor is so
That doesn't look
offended.
anything like 104 pounds, does it?
No, sir.
And that's not even a month, that's barely a month after May 9th, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I lose weight very quickly. I'm assuming he got that from me.
This bitch.
And again, the response to this was give him red, right?
If that's what the text message, sir.
Mr. Johnson asked you about the some text messages back and forth between you and Paul during the ice bath the last day, the day before Timothy died. And you were observing that ice bath from work, right?
I glanced in on it. I wasn't observing the whole time. I couldn't.
You weren't observing the entire time?
Not the entire time. I glanced in on it.
Whenever you'd send a text message, you were also looking at the camera, weren't you?
No, I wanted Paul to think I was.
You shouldn't be drunk
Mr. Johnson
texting
asked you if you remember the
anyway.
text about, honestly,
That's
do
kind
you
of
think this is all fake? Remember that?
stupid.
Vaguely.
You vaguely remember that
Yes,
text?
sir.
So you can remember the text where it tries to provide you
Where'd
with different
Mr.
witnesses. You can't
Scott
remember any of the
go?
horrible things that you did.
Did we
to
scare him
Did you
away
talk
with
here
the
today?
weirdo word?
I don't have any control over what I can remember and what I don't, sir.
You recall Paul's testimony yesterday about what he did in response to that photograph that he sent you about saying we really need to feed him, Mama? I think we
He
actually
didn't
need to
mean
feed
it
him. I
in a
believe
bad
we actually
way.
asked.
Yes, sir. I remember his testimony.
And what was his testimony?
That he gave him peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I guess he cooked him some eggs.
That was the first time you'd heard about that, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And that was not his instructions, was it?
No, sir, but that was fine. I had no problem with that.
Well, why didn't you just tell him to make him some eggs in the first place then?
Because I didn't think of it. I was in the middle of something.
I think we actually need to start feeding him, and the only thing you can come up with, instead of Paul thinking to give him scrambled eggs, is give him some bread. That's all you could think of.
It's, I mean, I don't know. I was in the middle of something. I wouldn't have thought of eggs anyway, not in the middle of the day.
You said that you would, the punishments, and I guess this 3 o'clock in the morning one about not letting him sleep or he gets an ice bath, so he's got to be awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. You said that was because he would keep you guys up in the middle of the night or wake you up in the middle of the night?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And again, you did really well on the logic and reasoning portion of the LSAT exam. Can you explain the reasoning behind keeping somebody awake when they're keeping you awake?
To show them how it feels.
But they're already awake, aren't they?
It made sense to me, sir. That's
Okay.
Now that you ask it, but
Okay. I hope we didn't scare him away.
it doesn't seem to make sense, but it made sense to me at the time.
You didn't actually mean that as punishment. That was just out of spite. You were just angry with Timothy for keeping you awake, weren't you?
No, it was meant as a punishment, sir.
But it's also a punishment for yourself because you have to stay awake as well, don't you?
I don't sleep much anyway, but yes, sir.
Or Paul has to stay awake, right?
Yes, sir. Paul's an insomniac as well.
You testified that you gave Timothy a warm bath the night before he passed away, that last night, July 5th. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
That was the first time you've told anybody connected to this case that you'd done that, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You never told the police officers you did that, did you?
No, sir.
I imagine a warm bath sounds just like, it's just what it sounds like, right? You got him, you took him to the bath, you drew a warm bath for him, and you put him in the bathtub, right?
Yes, sir.
This is hours before he dies, right?
Yes, sir.
You look like that when you put him in the bathtub?
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Gotta make me a moment.
Ha
Yes.
ha.
Ms. Vanderark,
That.
do we have a trash can?
Yeah, I played some
Take
trash.
that.
Would you like the beard removed? All right, please rise.
That's crazy. This must be her last day on the stand.
The bar exam is an incredibly difficult test to pass, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is.
Oh, shit. Now, where's the end of her thing? That must have been the end of it. What's happening? No one knows. I guess that was the end of that one. Okay.
Imagine for a moment that you were the sole breadwinner of your family, whatever the case.
Armand said, next time you get to pick me up. And the dog tilted his head like, I don't understand that command. And that struck me. It sticks in my head. I don't know why, but that sticks in my head.
What day was it?
I don't know what day of the week it was, sir. It was during the week.
Because there was stuff on it, was there?
No, sir.
The alarm was on it because Timothy was supposed to be in there, right?
And you taught dogs.
Yes, sir.
Do you teach children and dogs?
About that a little bit earlier, but I don't think we clarified your final text message where you said, you know what? We will start.
I don't know at that point. I don't know if somehow I found out about the Easter basket. Hold on. Okay, yeah, we must have been at a baseball game. It was 6:20 p.m., 6:43 p.m.
Full of goods, right?
I mean, that's what it said. There was never a lock on that.
But he wasn't allowed near it.
I mean,
Right.
if that's what it says, I don't.
That was April 27th.
Hold on.
Just a few days before, somehow he manages to be 100.
There we go.
She never saw the picture that was sent, specifically because she responded to the text message.
Oh,
Comes to the
shit.
text.
That's somebody else's shit. Can't watch that. Okay.
Originally asked Miss Vanderark, you just obviously had quite a visual reaction there to the jury, a physical reaction in front of the jury looking at those photographs. That's not the first time you've seen these photographs, though, is it?
No, sir.
In fact, you sat in this very courtroom not even a week ago
Oh,
on
good
Friday
night,
when we had a hearing about those
Firefly.
photographs and looked at those.
Good night, Firefly. I found it in time for you to go to bed. So, good night.
Those photographs, didn't
I
you?
did not look at them last week, sir.
You didn't look at them last week?
No, sir, I did not.
But you've looked at them before, haven't you?
I think it was at the prelim, and I gagged that day too. It just wasn't as bad.
Didn't throw up, though.
No, it wasn't as bad.
So if there's video from that hearing that we had last week where you thumbed through the photographs, including the autopsy photos, without vomiting, do you just not remember that as well?
We didn't have the autopsy. We didn't have those photos over at our table, sir. It won't be on the video, I can promise you that.
Well, then I'll return to my original question. Those 3 photographs depict your son hours after you supposedly put him in a warm bath. Did he look like that when you put him in the warm bath, but for the fact that he was alive?
I did not look at him, sir. He was 15. I tried to give him his privacy. It may seem lame, but I intentionally look away. That's why
She
Paul did
shuts
his
the
bath,
fuck
because
up.
he's 15.
You need to shut the fuck up. You could tell the difference. If he weighs less than your dog, it's a fucking problem.
And I didn't think that was appropriate.
So you didn't put him in the bathtub?
No, he was already in the tub. I just looked.
Did you get him out of the tub?
I don't remember. I think.
Firefly, you heard me say goodnight, right? Because I think I did say goodnight. You beautiful lady.
I think so. Later that night, I would assume so.
Later that night? How long was he in the tub?
Well, night to me is any time after work. So
Okay. How long was he in the tub?
I don't think it was long after I got home, but I don't know.
And again, you didn't tell the police officers this when they talked to you about what had happened the night before, did you?
I don't remember. Apparently I didn't.
Well, so you don't remember what you told the police officers?
I remember part of it, but I mean, if you say I didn't tell them, then I trust your word there.
If you told the police officers that you noticed he was skinny, so you made him some bread and put some butter on it and watched him eat 3/4 of it and then sent him to bed, does that refresh your recollection about what you told the officers?
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't remember saying it, but
So you don't remember saying those things to the police officer?
no, sir.
And those things clearly didn't happen, did they?
No, sir.
How did he get into his room that night?
I don't remember, sir.
Last page of the text messages. You can go ahead and read that very top text message, please.
Please set your alarm for 6 a.m. I ended up dragging him back to his small room because I wasn't going to risk him having access to the tub or other things overnight. He's still trying to be stupid, but I will tell you more tomorrow while I take you to work, describing how many different ways I proved that he's still faking. He's still doing it, though. It's beyond ridiculous.
I ended up dragging him back to his small room because I wasn't going to risk him having access to the tub or other things overnight. Plan was for him to sleep in the bathroom, wasn't it?
I don't remember, sir. I mean, I know that in the text message, but if that's what the text message says.
Okay. And you had to drag him back to the small room. Again, the small room being the closet, right?
Yes, sir.
Supposedly that he wanted to sleep in.
Yes, sir.
But you had to drag him there. Why was that?
Well, dragging, I mean, that could be anywhere from grabbing a hold of an arm and because someone's not being cooperative. That can be a range of things, sir. So I don't know what I was referring to there.
You've seen the video, haven't you?
No, sir. I haven't seen any videos.
Do you need your memory refreshed about him getting back in the small room that night?
No, sir. I mean, like I said, I'll take I don't remember actually doing it.
Did you physically pull him into the room that night?
Yes, sir. I mean,
And did you push him down onto the ground so that he was laying and facing the camera?
if that's what it shows, then yes, sir.
And did you position his face towards the camera?
If that's what it shows,
And did you tell him that he owes you the biggest apology on the face of the earth and then maybe he can get out to go to the bathroom?
If that's what it shows, sir, I don't remember.
And did you return a little while later because he had rolled over away from the camera so that you couldn't see him on camera?
If that's what it shows, I don't remember any of this.
And did you tell him you don't need to open your mouth every time you breathe, dummy, and then hold his mouth shut?
I don't know what I said, sir. I mean, I'll take your word for that's what the video
Oh, you don't have to
shows.
take my word for it. Let's play the video for you.
Sir, that's not necessary. If that's what you're saying it shows, I believe you. I'm
So
not.
you're acknowledging that the night before Timothy died, hours before he died, you dragged him, looking like that, back into his small room, positioned him in front of a camera, told him he owed you an apology, then came back later because he rolled over away from the camera and held his mouth closed and said, "See, you don't have to open your mouth when you breathe, dummy." You're acknowledging you did those things.
If that's what the camera shows, yes, sir.
You didn't put him in a warm bath that night, did you?
Yes, sir, I did.
But you had to drag him away from it?
If that's what it says, I don't. I know that I know he had a hoodie on.
You said the locks on the refrigerator were there because he got into the refrigerator, and if I heard your testimony correctly, he ate a pound of
That's
frozen hamburger
amazing, Ricky.
That was back.
and a bag of chicken nuggets
A frozen bag of chicken nuggets, yes, sir.
and frozen hamburger,
Yes, the hamburger was not frozen, it was refrigerated.
but frozen chicken nuggets
Frozen chicken nuggets and raw bacon.
and raw bacon.
Yes, sir.
Frozen raw bacon?
No, it was in the refrigerator.
The frozen stuff was the chicken.
The chicken nuggets, that was the only frozen, yes, sir.
Did you think he had an affinity for frozen food?
I didn't know the only thing he ate frozen was the chicken nuggets.
Is that why you sent a text message to Paul while he was in the ice bath at 3:43 that afternoon and said, "Oh, okay, crazy thought. Tell him if he actually sits up by himself and stays sitting up, he will get some pizza rolls. Don't tell him it's only 2, and I'm okay if they are frozen rather than cooked." Why'd you send that text message?
I don't know.
Don't remember that one either?
No, sir.
So you're not worried about him eating frozen pizza rolls if he sits up?
If that's what it says.
You've heard it read several times.
Yes,
You're not
sir.
doubting that's what it says, right?
Yes, sir.
Just another one of those memories that you just gone from your head, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you told Detective Peasky that the reason the locks were on the refrigerator is because he would get into them and he'd leave the doors open, that was a lie, wasn't it?
No, that was also true. He did that as well.
How does putting locks on fix that problem?
He can't get into it then, so it doesn't get left open.
Oh,
No,
so,
he was the
wasn't,
only
so
one.
you admit that he was not allowed access to the refrigerator or the freezer or to the pantry?
As far as the refrigerator and freezer, after we put the locks on,
He couldn't get into them, could he?
No, not after that.
And the pantry had an alarm on it as well, didn't it?
No, it didn't.
Okay. We'll move on. We can circle back to that one. Let's talk about some of the other things that you told Detective Peasky. You told Detective Peasky that long after the stroke happened in January, Timothy went on a hunger strike. That was a lie, wasn't it?
Not long after, and no, that was not a lie, that was the truth.
He went on a hunger strike.
Yes, sir, he did. It wasn't immediately, but it was within a few days.
And a hunger strike is refusing to eat, right?
Yes, sir.
So he's refusing to eat food not long after your husband has a stroke, right?
Yes, sir.
Then you don't need to put locks on the refrigerator and the freezer, do you? If he's refusing to eat.
He stopped. He actually started eating again.
He started eating again, so then you decided he's been on a hunger strike, he's eating again, so now we better lock up the food.
No, I did the locks to protect him because he could have killed himself eating the chicken nuggets. I didn't put the locks on after he did the hamburger or the bacon, but the chicken nuggets, it was raw chicken.
Chicken nuggets are cooked, aren't they? They're pre-cooked.
Are they? I didn't even think about that.
But it's okay if he has a frozen pizza roll or two, if he sits up, right?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. February 18th, 2022. Find out what he has snuck right the heck now. Because I know he has snuck all stuff since you weren't doing what you were supposed to. What do you mean you didn't know he was awake? You both should have been awake at 10:30. I am not happy. You know he wasn't just sitting there. Check the brownies in the kitchen. Check everything not locked away. Check where the flipping keys have been. So starting February, you had to lock up all the food. Make sure he's not getting into the brownies, right?
And all of the food was never locked. There's no pictures of it, but one of the lower cupboards had quite a bit of canned food in it. And he actually would get into that and eat stuff out of cans as well. But there was never a lock on that lower cupboard. I don't know if I know they took pictures of it because I showed it to them.
So he had access to one cupboard of food?
The pantry wasn't locked the whole time, I know that.
But there were times the pantry was locked or had an alarm on it, wasn't there?
There was no alarm. I never got one for the pantry. I've heard the text messages. I don't remember there being a lock on the pantry, but I've heard
228, check his breath. I can almost guarantee he's eaten something. He was chewing on something when he walked downstairs. You and I will be talking about this on a later date when we're both home. Paul's response, yes, he grabbed some chips. I know. So he wasn't allowed to eat chips on 228 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Couldn't have some chips. Right?
I mean, I don't know what happened in that situation.
Well, you didn't say make sure he didn't get into the frozen chicken nuggets because it might kill him. You said find out what he's been into, and Paul says he's been into chips. Right?
That's what it says, yes, sir.
So I imagine the next text message then is, oh, great, that's fine, he can have some chips.
Well, no, the point of it was he was sneaking things. He knew better.
Couldn't have chips.
It wasn't that he couldn't have chips. It was that he would sneak things. It
So
was
how would
dishonest.
How would he earn getting chips?
He didn't have to earn them. All he had to do was ask. I was trying to teach him not to sneak. He snuck. It wasn't just food. He would sneak in the garage. He would sneak toys. He snuck around and messed with his baby brother's homeschooling materials. I've got like flashcards and stuff for him. He messed with those and got them all out of order.
March 4th is around the time that you acknowledged that he was in zip cuffs. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but I don't think we clarified your final text message where you said, you know what? We will start cutting off the ends once they are tight, so he can't do that. Is that one of the can't remember texts too?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. March 19th. Okay, that only makes partial sense. What did he grab? LOL. Paul's response, I don't know, chips or something small he had in his pocket. Okay, tell him he just restarted his not eating again. That was you. March 19th. Tell him he's just restarted his not eating again. So he took chips. So the punishment for that is now he's not allowed to eat anything again, right?
I don't remember, sir.
Don't remember that one. Okay. Talking about the punishment outside, Paul says, wall sits question mark, and then you say, push him until it looked like he is about to fall over, please. That was for running up and down the stairs, wasn't it, on April 14th?
If that's what it says, yes, sir.
So you wanted Paul to run him up and down the stairs until he was ready to fall over.
That's what the text says.
What crime had he committed to warrant being physically driven until you fall over?
I have no idea, sir.
April 18th. He managed to come upstairs, yank the locks off of both the freezer and the pantry without you noticing, and he stole a bunch of crap that squished and rattled and did all sorts of stuff, and you slept through everything. KK, no devices until tomorrow, at least my lunch other than messaging, until at least my lunch other than messaging me, which would be very little. Remember that?
I don't remember it, no, sir.
So, but if the text message said he yanked the locks off the pantry, then there were locks on the pantry as of April 18th, right?
Apparently.
$4.26, almost freaking caught him again. I want all the fruit in the fridge, freezer, or pantry, and those locked. So locking up all the food again on April 26th, correct?
Well, the cupboard still was never locked.
And what was in the cupboard?
A bunch of canned stuff. There's a bunch of cans in there.
Bunch of cans in there?
Yeah.
So you're okay with him getting into a bunch of canned stuff?
I mean, he got into it all the time.
So what, do you go to the drawer, get a can opener, open up the can, put it on the stove, warm the stuff up?
No, he didn't. He would eat it straight out of the can.
But that didn't worry
Weird.
you.
Huh?
That didn't worry you?
Well, when I discovered it, it did, but I just never put anything on that cupboard.
So what caused this almost freaking caught him? I want all the food in the fridge and the freezer, the pantry, those locked up, April 28th.
I have no idea, sir. Without having it in there, I don't know what caused it.
It's likely related to the text before that, isn't it?
I don't know.
He keeps pulling his arms down, and that doesn't set off the camera alarm, so please watch him for that. Well, why did he have his arms up?
He was standing against the wall with his arms on his head.
So he'd have to do that for long periods of time, right?
Stand there, but he didn't have to have his arms up the whole time, but I'd set a time limit on how long he had to have his arms up.
And you're watching an alarm to make sure his arm doesn't go down, right?
From the sound of it.
The response to you about from Paul about locking up the food, it's just he pulled the pantry door lock. What do you mean he just pulled it? Did he take it off? Paul says, yes, that part that attaches hanging right now is sticky locks. Okay, another one away. Last I saw, they're on the floor in a bag in my room. And you make him run up the stairs a ton for that, even in the room. So trying to take food, not his cabinet full of canned goods, and pulling the pantry lock off means he doesn't get food, it all gets locked away, and he has to run the stairs, even in the cold and rain.
Being deceitful and sneaky.
He was deceitful and sneaky, wasn't he?
Yes, sir, he was.
He was hungry.
He was that way well before there was issues, well before the stroke. I mean, we always had issues with him over that. His mom warned me about that.
Well before there were issues. What issues?
Before his first hunger strike or any of this, he was extremely sneaky.
ever occur to you-
Cousin, bye, Ricky. I'm gonna finish this
Is this
off.
not to deal with a person who's been on a hunger strike? Locking up their food, locking up their access to food, punishing them when they try to take food? Did that ever occur to you with your brilliant legal mind, as it was, that wasn't a good idea?
I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking.
April 27th, Timothy is no longer allowed anywhere near the fridge, freezer, or pantry, or any other place where food is. So now it sounds like he can't even get into his cabinet full of canned goods, right?
I mean, that's what it said. There was never a lock on that.
But he wasn't allowed near it.
I mean,
Right.
if that's what it is, I don't.
That was April 27th. Just a few days before, somehow he manages to be 104 pounds, which, as we've heard from the testimony this morning, is still a good 30 pounds under average weight, right?
Well, my kids are, most of them are slim. Paul is 6'1" and 130. He doesn't even hit the 134 for a 5'8" person. And I lose weight extremely easily. So he at 104, he looked average.
Yeah, but she's fat though. Yeah, but she's fat though.
February 14th, I may need some help with it, but I am about to get a lock for the pantry door and a lock for the fridge and both freezers. And then we won't leave any food out of those areas, and he won't have access to unlock those. Okay, Paul's response. Your response, if you disagree, please say so, but he is not going to win this. I may need some help with it, but I'm about to get a... Oh, that's the same thing. So you were bound and determined that he wasn't going to win and get food without asking for permission first, weren't you? Even
No,
if that meant locking up all the food.
No, sir, I was bound and determined he would stop being deceitful and sneaky.
He is not going to win this.
Because he was being stubborn. He kept sneaking. He snuck stuff. We found out, actually, it was well before the stroke. Paul discovered it. This was before his first hunger strike. I mean, before anything. Paul went down to the downstairs bathroom one day, and I think it was, I want to say it was at least 3 cupboards, if not 4 across. And I guess he'd opened one of the cupboards, and Timothy had snuck a bunch of stuff. I mean, there was wrappers and cans and all sorts of stuff. He did that. I mean, that was, I don't remember if it was before or after my oldest son's wedding, but it was around that time.
And again, your response to all of this, rather than to seek some professional help for him, because of these eating issues that he apparently has, is to restrict even further his access to food, right? And then watch his every move on a camera or with a motion sensor or with an alarm, right?
My response was to try to prevent him being deceitful and sneaky.
April 28th, do you want to have just the one on the pants for tonight? When I leave, you will have to have both of them on so it doesn't get away with anything. So by April 28th, you were putting multiple alarms on his person, weren't you?
If that's what it says, I didn't realize he even owned more than one. I only remember ordering one.
Okay, take off the arm one, but warn him that I will count how many times he moves his arm from the camera picking it up, and he'll be doing stairs for that tomorrow. That's at 11 o'clock in the evening on 4/28. So you're watching to see how many times he moved his arm when he was in his room?
How many times he dropped his, was he in his room?
I don't know.
I
You
was
tell me.
assuming
I
it was
wasn't
up
there.
against the wall, 'cause
All I can
normally-
do is read you the text message. It says, "Okay, take off the arm one," referencing back to the alarms, "but warn him that I will count how many times he moves his arm from the camera picking it up, and he will be doing stairs for that tomorrow."
That
He's not sneaking around there, is he?
No, he was up against the wall and he was supposed to have his arms on his head for a certain amount of time.
Okay, so at 11 o'clock at night, he's
Sometimes.
supposed to be up against the wall, and you want to make sure that he knows you're going to know how many times he moves his arm, and if it's not satisfactory, he gets to do stairs for that the next day.
Yes, sir, apparently.
April 29th. What did he eat? I ate my burger already. Paul's response, he ate the crust. You remember what your response was?
I don't remember. I heard it the other day, but I don't remember sending that.
Go try to make him throw up, please. That was your response, wasn't it?
If that's what it says.
Don't remember? I'm going to
sir.
put that one in the don't remember category.
Like I said, unfortunately, between January and the time he passed away, I don't have a lot of memories in general of Gabriel, of G, of Timothy, of Paul. I know that there's times that I went over to my in-laws' house, and I don't remember a lot of that. It's not just this.
So the crime he committed here, just so we're clear, wasn't sneaking frozen chicken nuggets or a bag of chips. It was eating the crust of what sounds to be an already half-eaten burger or an eaten burger. And your response to that is go make him throw up, please.
If that's what it says, and the crime was, again, it's being sneaky and deceitful. It was never about it wasn't about the food. It was because he every time we turned around, he was sneaking something. It wasn't just food. He snuck toys. Like I said, he snuck batteries.
May 5th, did Timothy work hard enough to sleep tonight so you and I can both get some sleep? He will still have to work super hard tomorrow to earn the same, but wanted to ask about tonight first. Do you want to explain how that falls in with your statement that the reason he wasn't allowed to sleep was because he would keep you guys awake?
I actually do remember that. Timothy asked if he could trade off not getting to sleep for something else, and I had him doing chores.
There's a lot to unpack in that sentence, so I think I'll just start at the end. So he had to ask for permission to sleep.
No,
Right?
this was because he had kept us up. Like I said before, he had kept us up, so he wasn't going to get to sleep. And he asked if he could trade that punishment for another punishment.
How is that not having to ask for permission to go to sleep, Ms. Vanderark?
It wasn't because it was a punishment. It wasn't anything about, he didn't have to ask to go to sleep.
Yeah, it's I'll do something else if you let me sleep, right?
It was trading a punishment for a punishment. That's.
May 16th, where is Timothy? Paul's response, sorry, I was getting dressed. Timothy is on a 5-minute bathroom timer. Well, 4 now. And your response, why is he on a 5-minute timer? He doesn't get 5 minutes. He gets 60 seconds unless he needs to poop, then he gets 2 minutes. He only got to go to the bathroom for 1 minute or 2 minutes, depending on what he had to do?
I don't remember ever enforcing that, but obviously I sent it. But
Doesn't that strike you as, with everything else that happens, it's just cruel and unusual to tell a child, heck, to tell anybody, that you only get a certain amount of time in the bathroom? That doesn't strike you as
I
cruel?
object to this being argumentative.
It's not argumentative.
It certainly is argumentative. She can answer the question, but certainly the way it's phrased is an argument. There's no question here. It's an argument. You're the judge with a question mark at the end.
No, I really want to know if she thinks it's cruel to put somebody on a bathroom timer, Joe.
And the relevance of if she thinks it's cruel. It's simply argumentative, Judge.
I don't think it's argumentative. It would tend to give some insight, I suppose, to her intent. If Mr. Johnson, you would like to clarify or have it clarify what her definition of cruel or unusual is so that we're all on the same page with the witness, that's fine. But I think the question can be asked, so the objection is overruled.
So your response to that, well, I want my question answered. Is it cruel to make a child go to the bathroom on a timer?
yes, sir.
May 17th, before I left, when I was having you sign into the camera and turning on the sound for the camera so you would hear the alarm if it went off. And by the way, I told him yesterday that if he did that in the garage again, he would sleep in the garage for a night. So let him know that he would be doing that as soon as the temperatures are safe enough for him to make him do it. So you were going to have him sleep in the garage for a night.
I actually remember that text message, and I was frustrated. I never would have done it, but I was frustrated.
Hi everyone, welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. As soon as this cross-examination is over, we're gonna go ahead and end for the night.
Really fast, and I admit I have a bad habit of saying stuff when I'm upset, and then calming down later and it being totally different. But I do remember that, and it never happened.
It didn't happen? What didn't happen? You didn't make him sleep in the garage?
No.
Oh, yes, thank goodness for that. Same day, 12:53. Did he heat the pancake in a cup? Otherwise, it's just powder, and it's not safe to eat without being heated either. When it actually says, did he hear the pancake in the cup? I assume he meant heat the pancake in the cup, right? Do you remember this text exchange?
Vaguely.
And Paul's response, no, he just ate the powder. And your response, that could make him sick, the dummy. Tabasco in his mouth and make him swallow, and lots of it, and do it every 30 minutes until you leave. This was May 17th. Do you remember this exchange?
I don't remember the Tabasco because I never called it. I said Tabasco.
Tabasco in the mouth and make him swallow, and lots of it, and do it every 30 minutes until you leave.
I don't remember that being a part of it. I remember part of the conversation, but I don't remember that part of it.
Well, Timothy obviously didn't like Tabasco, did he?
We didn't have any Tabasco sauce. That's why it doesn't make any sense. We had hot sauce, but we didn't have Tabasco sauce.
Okay, so the punishment for eating pancake in a cup is Tabasco or some type of hot sauce in the mouth. Is that right?
Sneaking something dangerous? If that's what, I mean, if you're asking what he was punished for, it would be for sneaking.
You were concerned for his well-being.
Yes, sir.
Right. That's why you're having this text exchange, right?
Yes,
really,
sir.
You're really concerned for him at that point.
Yes, sir. Those pancakes in a cup had, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, but I think they had eggs in them.
That could make him sick, the dummy. Do you always refer to him as a dummy when you're about him?
No, sir. You can look at the text messages. I hardly ever said anything like that.
Hardly ever said anything like that? It's not a good idea to call a child a dummy, is it?
I never would to him. I was frustrated, like I said.
Later on in that same text exchange, Paul says he also crapped himself. And your response is, what? In his pants? Seriously? Paul, I told him to take a 5-minute shower. Make him do the work in the garage with nothing on below the waist. Just make sure the garage door stays closed, and then he can stand down against the wall with nothing on below the waist until you leave. Just please make sure G does not go downstairs at all while he's standing there like that. Break that up again. So make him do the work in the garage with nothing on below the waist. So his punishment for having an accident was that he had to do chores without pants and underwear on, right?
If that's what it says, I don't remember this.
That's pretty humiliating, isn't it?
I mean, he was by himself. It wasn't. I mean, I don't remember this at all, sir.
You don't remember that at all?
No, sir.
But you did have the presence of mind at that time that says, just make sure the garage door stays closed because you don't want anyone seeing you doing that, do you?
Well, I didn't want the garage door open ever because we had a lot of stuff out there. So.
And then he can stand against the wall with nothing on below the waist until you leave. So in addition to cleaning the garage, then he has to stand against the wall with no pants and underwear on, correct?
I mean, if that's what it says, I don't remember this.
Please make sure G does not go downstairs at all. Don't remember that either.
No, sir.
Didn't want, but you physically typed these words into your phone and sent them to Paul to make sure that G doesn't see Timothy like that, right?
Yes, sir.
His clothes need to be washed right away, but he gets to be without anything below the waist for a while today. Did he say why the heck he did that? And Paul's response is he said he didn't want to disturb anyone. He had to ask for permission to go to the bathroom, didn't he?
No, sir, not usually. If he was on the wall, he did. Because he was supposed to be standing still.
Just the handcuff transactions, we've talked about that. So let's get back to your statement to to Detective Piesky. You didn't tell the detective about the warm bath, but you told him that you realized how skinny he was the night before and threatened to take him to the ER if he didn't eat. That's not true, is it?
No, sir.
And you didn't make him a piece of toast and give it to him and make him eat it, did you?
No, sir. I have no idea why I said that. I was traumatized. I actually didn't come out of the first month I was in jail. I wish the Lydia that used to work for the public defender's office visited me, and she said it was pretty obvious that I was under severe trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't eat for my first month.
This was while they were searching your house on July 6th while you were sitting in your house.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you're thinking, oh, well, better tell him, yeah, he looked a little skinny last night, and I thought I should take him to the ER and then make some toast with butter on it and watched him eat it, and he walked away. None of that happened, did it?
No, I don't even remember that.
But you had the presence of mind to lie to the officer at the time when he was investigating.
Like I said, I was traumatized. I don't remember this, sir.
He wouldn't come upstairs when she said goodnight. She walked down to the last couple of stairs and asked for a hug and a kiss. That didn't happen either, did it?
I don't remember. I mean, I would assume not, but I don't remember.
In fact, you're acknowledging that video that shows you dragging him into a small room, looking like he does when he dies, calling him a dummy for breathing with his mouth open, is actually what you did to him the night before he died, right?
If that's what it shows. I don't remember, sir.
Your statement to Detective Piesky continues. She got ready for work in the morning and went to check on him. She said his name, but he did not respond. She put her hand on his chest and he was not breathing. She remembered her 20-year-old son, Paul, helping her get him off the bed. That was all a lie, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
You know where he was when you found him that morning, right?
In the closet.
In the small room. And prior to that, you told Officer Stefanich, well, it was about 5:30, he fell out of bed and I had to go and put him back into bed. Also a lie, right?
Yes, sir. I have no idea why I said that, sir. Like I said, I was traumatized.
You told Detective Peasky that Timothy stated he was on a hunger strike 2 weeks ago. This is 2 weeks before he dies. He goes on a hunger strike.
Yes, sir.
Did he go on a hunger strike?
Yes, sir, he did.
Show me the text message between you and Paul where it says that he's on a hunger strike.
I don't know if I ever texted him about it, sir. We talked about it, but I never texted. I mean, if it's not in there, I don't. We didn't text about everything.
You never texted Paul about him being on a hunger strike?
No, I would have told him that in person. I wouldn't have said that over text message. That would have been important.
But Paul has to watch him for the day when you're not home, right?
Yes, sir.
So it'd be Paul's responsibility to get him some food, right?
Yes, sir.
So while he's on a hunger strike, instead of talking about the hunger strike, your response to that is give him 4 slices of bread with hot sauce on it, and if he eats them and waits 30 minutes, he can eat 4 without. Right?
I don't know what day that was, sir, if you're...
Well, let's find it and make sure.
I mean,
He
we
was
tried to,
eating
just
bread
because he
with-
wasn't eating, we tried to feed him. That was...
And the best solution you come up with is force him to eat the bread with hot sauce on it. That was the response to the hunger strike?
I don't remember, sir. I mean, it wasn't... We tried to feed him. That's all I remember.
So when would that hunger strike have started?
End of June? Late June?
Again, you never looked at the bone thin photo to see what kind of condition he was in before he goes on this hunger strike, right?
No, sir.
And did it ever occur to you, like, he's on a hunger strike now? And I know Paul had sent me that text about, he's bone thin. I think we actually need to feed him. We need to actually feed him. It never occurred to you that maybe you should go back and look at that text message now and see what condition he was in at the time?
No, sir. With me, when something's out of sight, it's out of mind. Once that's scrolled up, I don't scroll back to the text messages.
Out of sight, out of mind. That applies to Timothy as well, doesn't it?
That applies to a lot of things, sir. It's not just, I mean, if
Not
Little Man
just
wasn't...
Timothy.
No, if Little Man was not in front of me right then I wasn't necessarily thinking about him. Paul wasn't.
June 19th, you can do his bread with hot sauce at any time, though preferably sooner rather than later. Put more hot sauce on than you did yesterday, please. And he has to eat at least 3 slices with hot sauce, but he may have more as long as they have plenty of hot sauce on him. That was June 19th. Was he on his hunger strike then?
I would assume not. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an exact date.
That was about 2 weeks before he passed away, and that's when you said the hunger strike started. Is that right?
Yes, sir. But
Did it occur to you that the hunger strike was because he didn't enjoy eating bread with hot sauce on it?
did it occur to me? No, sir, because he did it way back in January, and that wasn't the case.
June 21st, how is everything? Did you make him eat his bread with hot sauce? Yeah, and that's when it's he gets 4 with hot sauce and then 4 more, 30 minutes. That was June 21st. You don't know if the hunger strike started there then?
I don't know, sir. Like I said, I can only guesstimate. That's... The only reason I remember the 3 weeks the first time around is because it was right after the stroke, and he started eating again before the end of January.
Right. Did you think he's on a second hunger strike now? You really need to get him some treatment for this.
Did I think along those lines? No, sir. He admitted to being... He told us very early on after the stroke that he was taking advantage of that because we didn't have the extra set of eyes with my husband, and he was being difficult. He actually, Timothy told me that his dad and stepmom used to let him get away with everything. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I've always been the stricter parent anyway, and he told me on multiple occasions that if he thought that if he pushed me hard enough that I would just quit making him do stuff and I wouldn't make him cooperate.
All right, well, here's an exchange from June 29th. Maybe this can shed some light on the hunger strike feeding situation. Trust me, I know he's thin. Trust me, I know he's thin. That was your text, not Paul's. You sent
I
Paul
don't...
that.
I thought you already went to bed. Good night. Good night. I'm going as soon as this cross-examination is over. But it doesn't show anybody but her face.
I remember the
text, right?
text, but I mean,
You don't remember that one either.
no, sir.
Trust me, I know he's thin. That being said, he told me a week and a half ago that he wanted to be thin to make me feel bad for punishing him. You don't get to grump at him for that, though. I already lit into him plenty for it. Is this while he's on his hunger strike?
I mean, I would assume so, yes, sir.
This is June 29th. This is
Yes,
about
sir.
8 days before he dies.
Yeah, I would assume so.
And Paul's response is, of course he did. And your response to that is, yeah, so while I want to fix it, he will get most of his calories from plain bread and rice for, pulling that. He will get plenty of calories but not get to enjoy them that way, That doesn't sound like somebody who's on a hunger strike to me. Can you clarify that for me, please?
I don't remember, but I know he wasn't eating. There was,
Continues on. KK. So yeah, we'll tell you more about what he can eat later, June 29th.
just because we offered him food doesn't, I mean, we offered him food when he was on the hunger strike in January. At least I did. I mean, I would assume Paul did as well.
It looks like you're waiting for go give your pillow some head and your sheets some ass and have the sweetest dreams ever. I love you. Good night.
But just because you offered stuff, I mean, you couldn't, even though it says try to force him to eat, you couldn't force him to eat stuff. I mean, if he didn't.
You heard Paul's testimony yesterday that he had to force him to eat the bread with hot sauce on it, didn't you?
Yes, sir. I don't know what he means by that.
It's interesting you use the phrase, we tried to tempt him with food. That came up while he was in the ice bath, didn't it? Tempting him with food.
Do you mean the day before he passed?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, if I said, yes, sir. I mean,
You told Paul to heat up some pizza rolls because G needed the pizza rolls anyway, right? You remember that?
yes, sir.
You remember
I
this?
don't remember the text message.
Don't
but
remember. So this falls in the I don't remember category as well. Is that right?
Like most of it.
Well,
Yes,
the
sir.
text message says, heat one up, hold it in front of him, but be ready to pull it away if he tries to grab it. You don't remember sending any of that?
I don't remember it. No, sir.
You heard the text messages read yesterday, correct?
Yes, sir. I did.
Is it fair to say that you just don't remember those text messages?
Most of them, I don't remember.
Most of them.
Yeah. But then you've got your big bind. I can pretty much guarantee I don't remember most of that either. I don't. And it's not just my text with Paul.
You don't remember anything.
No, sir, I don't.
But somehow you were able to hold down a job as a judicial clerk during that time period, right?
Yes, sir.
Why she don't remember?
My only.
You were able to at least provide dog training to one client at that time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you remembered to tell Paul to get up and walk Sharma just about every morning, didn't you?
I mean, that would be automatic. It would be reflex. If it's in there, then I would assume so. Yes, sir.
That would be reflex. To tell Paul to get up and walk Sharma, is that what you're saying?
I mean, if it's a habit, if I do it enough times, then. And plus, it served to get Paul out of bed when I left, because he'd like to go back to sleep.
You told the officer that there was an alarm on the basement door. This is the small closet, because there was some sewing stuff stored in it. That was a lie, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. There was sewing stuff stored in it before he asked to do that, but
the alarm
I don't know why I
wasn't-
told him that.
The alarm wasn't on there because there was sewing stuff on it, was there?
No, sir.
The alarm was on it because Timothy was supposed to be in there, right?
I mean, as far as I know, like I said, I don't.
Don't. You don't remember, but you were able to lie to the police officer at the time?
I don't remember talking to the police. I mean, I don't remember this part of the conversation with the police officer, sir.
You tell the officer that there were cameras in the home because G would strip down naked and wander around. Well, that wasn't the only reason the cameras were in the house, was it?
No, sir.
You left out all the other details about that you had to monitor Timothy and make sure he didn't go certain places and sneak places and be deceitful, right? You didn't tell the officer that, did you?
Apparently not. I don't know why I didn't, but
You said he fell out of bed and you went and had to get him and put him back into bed. He never fell out of bed that night, did he?
not as far as I know. I don't remember, sir.
Well, you know he didn't sleep in the bed that night, don't you?
Well, yeah, so I'm sorry.
Right. So saying that you got up at 5:30 and had to put him back in the bed, and then you changed it to 30 minutes because it's sometime with an ending in a 30 because you learned at that point the rigor mortis had already set in and he'd been deceased for a number of hours, that was still a lie, wasn't it?
I mean, yes, sir, I don't remember any of this, I'm sorry.
The hot sauce in the bathroom downstairs was for food. But it wasn't, was it? The hot sauce was for punishment, right?
It was also to put on food.
But you didn't mention that, we also use hot sauce as a form of punishment, did you?
Apparently not.
I'm guessing you probably didn't mention to the officer, we also had the crazy idea yesterday to pour some hot sauce on his penis for a punishment.
Apparently not, sir. Like I said, I don't remember.
You told the officer that you did not restrict Timothy's movement at night with shackles. That was also a lie, wasn't it?
Again, I don't remember, sir. I know we talked about it, but as far as overnight, no.
But you would restrict his movement with shackles, wouldn't you? Whether it was zip ties or handcuffs or leg shackles.
I mean, I can only go back based on the text messages. I don't know.
This is crazy.
Why did you wait 20 minutes to call 911 after you found Timothy deceased in the small closet, in the small room?
I have no idea, honestly.
It was 18 minutes.
Learned of that gap, just a couple of days ago. The whole day is surreal to me, so I have no idea why we waited like that. I don't know. I can't imagine waiting, but apparently it happened. I don't know.
Do you remember Paul asking you, should we call 911?
I don't remember him ever asking. Because I was the one that called. And I was the one, I remember performing CPR. And he did help me out a little bit when I got tired to take over a little bit. But, I can't imagine ever saying no to that.
But if it's on the video, that's what you said, right?
If it's on there.
They show a video.
So if the video showed that it begins with you...
Or audio.
With movement outside of the room at about 6:19:21.
I think they play some audio.
And 911 is actually called...
Oh, this is almost over.
You tell Paul you have to call at 6:37, so that's about 18 minutes, isn't it?
Let's see, 19, yeah, that's 18 minutes.
And Timothy was never responsive to you, was he?
No, sir.
His eyes were wide open, completely glazed over, weren't they?
As far as I remember, yes, sir.
He never moved, never took a breath, never did anything, did he?
No, sir.
And while this is all going on, you tell Paul, we'll have to tell them he was on a hunger strike, right? Remember telling him that?
No, I don't.
Don't remember that either?
No, sir.
Do you remember telling Paul, or do you remember saying, put his pants on to make it look like he's been this way?
I don't remember saying that.
Do you remember asking Paul to put the belt on to make it sure that that's the way he looked?
No, sir.
But if they're on video, you said those things,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Ms. Vanderark, isn't it true? Timothy had just become nothing more than an annoyance for you, and he wasn't even a human being in your eyes anymore.
That is absolutely not true.
Yes, it is. It's so true.
Oh.
Oh, look, he's all done. Look at that. All done. That's wild. That was fucking wild. Man, I'm so glad I got high. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for watching. I want to tell you, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And then go give your pillows some head and your sheets some ass and have the sweetest dreams ever. Love you.